181, the prelude to the cult leader and his groundbreaking theories, under the spotlight. The Spirit Hall, Advanced Spirit Master Academy, was destined to be the center of the Spirit Master world today. Outside its grand gates, streams of people flowed like a river, the crowd weaving and surging in every direction. Spirit Masters had come from every corner, elite representatives of renowned sects, lone cultivators, and theoretical researchers hungry for new insight, flooding into this palace of learning with excitement and expectation. When Qing and his party appeared at the academy entrance, it was like a drop of water into hot oil. An immediate stir ran through the crowd. "Look, it's Sect Master Qing of the Yin-Yang sect." A sharp-eyed young spirit master cried out, his voice quivering with excitement. The shout spread like a thrown stone, sending ripples through the crowd. All eyes turned, suddenly blazing with interest. Heavens, it really is him, the sect master with the heaven-defying spirit ring configuration, the one who beat Clear Sky and bested 7 kills at the 7 Great Sects re-election assembly. Someone repeated, as if recounting the legend could bring them closer to it. "He's even younger and better looking than the rumors said," murmured many young female spirit masters, eyes glittering as they fixed on Qing's composed smile. "If I could be noticed by Sect Master Qing, even for a single night," one bold girl breathed, her face flushing. "Get a grip," her friend hissed, shoving her away, though her own gaze lingered on Qing as she muttered, "Sure, only someone like me, beauty and talent, deserves his attention." The rising and falling exclamations, the unabashed stares, formed an invisible heat that wrapped around Qing and his group. He was used to attention, but even he felt the corner of his mouth twitch. He glanced at a row beside him, always soft, always calm, searching for a familiar anchor. Aru met his look with an even gentler smile, wordlessly proud. Through mental force, she sent him a teasing thought. "Husband has boundless charm. Last night's lesson wasn't thorough enough. We'll need to continue tonight to make sure no wandering hearts appear." Qing felt an involuntary ache in his lower back at that mental provocation. He looked up and took a breath, replying mentally, "Fine. Who's afraid of whom? Do you think this sect master is scared of you?" Amid the fanfare and their private banter, they pushed through the crowd and entered the main venue for the Spirit Theory debate competition, a vast circular auditorium that held thousands. It was already packed. Representatives from major sect forces, envoys from the Star Luo Empire's royal house, messengers from the lower 4 sects, and chiefs of renowned Spirit Master clans had taken their seats early, faces set with seriousness and anticipation. They hoped the theoretical sparks here might light the way for their own sect's advancement. Qing's arrival caused another ripple in the VIP section. 2 familiar figures stepped forward to greet him. Schoolmaster Ning Fengji of the 7 Treasure Glazed Tile School approached first, elegant and smiling like spring. His eyes swept over the women accompanying Qing, curiosity briefly brightening his expression. Behind him came the broad-shouldered Tang Zhen, steady and sonorous. "Sect Master Yu," Tang Zhen rumbled, "I brought many promising young disciples from my Clear Sky sect so they could hear your theories and broaden their horizons." He nodded toward a cluster of eager young faces craning to look. "You two flatter me," Qing said with a smile and a formal salute. "The honor is mine." "He's being modest," Ning laughed. "Who isn't curious about your theories these days?" The 3 exchanged pleasantries and moved toward the front row of VIP seats. In a shadowed corner, however, a solitary figure watched with a hollow gaze. Yuanjin stared where the Blue Lightning Tyrant Dragon sect seats had once been, now occupied by the Yin-Yang sect. He watched Qing laugh with Ning Fengji and Tang Zhen and curled himself tighter in his corner. A sour, hollow feeling swelled in him, bitter regret at his sect's fall and the rise of a rival. He bowed his head, unwilling to look longer. Only those who had tasted such a fall could know the sting. Qing motioned for the 3 children with blue silvergrass spirits and the lively Dugu Yan who followed him to take the empty seats beside him. These 4 children would be the strongest proof of his theory today. 15 minutes later, a hush settled over the hall as an imposing presence ascended the rostrum. Supreme Pontiff Bibi Dong moved forward, flanked by cardinals. Today she wore no ornate crown, only a simple, solemn, long purple robe, but her aura of a peak powerhouse and the gravitas of the pontiff compelled every breath to stop. She did not linger in pleasantries. Her gaze swept the hall, and in a cold, majestic tone carried by spirit power, she announced, "This session of the Spirit Theory Debate Competition is now declared open." The theoretical feast began. The format was familiar. Researchers took the stage to present findings or bold hypotheses, followed by a free-for-all debate that could be collegial or fiercely combative. One researcher after another spoke. Discoveries about spirit forms and functions, observations on rare spirit beast habits, new ideas for combining spirit abilities, and practical techniques for improving meditation efficiency. Ideas collided like flint and steel, producing brilliant sparks. Qing joined the fray at the appointed time. With insights that seemed ahead of the era and a deep theoretical foundation, he spoke on the nature of spirits, the ecological chains of spirit beasts, ways to optimize spirit ring energy absorption, and practical cultivation methods. He referenced classics, parsed them carefully, and framed new viewpoints so clearly that many in the audience felt sudden enlightenment. Sect Master Yu's research is truly at the level of a master of the generation, an elderly white-haired spirit master murmured, stroking his beard. "Listening to him is better than 10 years of study," his companion agreed. "It explains how he can cultivate so many brilliant disciples." As the debate reached momentum, Qing decided the moment had come. He cleared his throat. His voice was not loud, but it carried and quieted the hall, drawing every ear. "I've heard many excellent insights today, and I've benefited greatly," he said, his gaze sweeping over every face. "But the ultimate aim of our study of spirits is to better understand them, and if possible, to change the fate they impose on their spirit masters." He paused and then presented a notion designed to spark controversy. As everyone knows, a spirit master's future is largely decided the moment their spirit is awakened. Spirit quality determines one's ceiling, while innate soul power determines how quickly one climbs. That is almost an eternal truth on the Douluo Continent. Heads nodded. It was a deeply ingrained consensus. Qing raised his voice a touch. But precisely because of this, countless spirit masters have seen their paths cut short, their lives filled with regret because they awakened low-quality spirits or suffered malignant spirit mutations. Someone once put forth a provocative view. There are no trash spirits, only trash spirit masters. A shocked silence hit the hall, then an explosion of discussion. Whispers rippled. "Isn't that the view proposed by that theoretically invincible Grandmaster Yu Shaogong? How can Sect Master Yu agree with that?" Many of Grandmaster's theories were declared absurd. Could it be that Sect Master Yu sees merit in Yu Shaogong's ideas? Gazes darted between Qing and the pontiff on the rostrum. Everyone knew of the painful past between Grandmaster Yu Shaogong and Supreme Pontiff Bibi Dong. When Qing spoke those words, Bibi Dong's hand tightened briefly on her scepter. Her deep purple eyes fixed on Qing, a storm of emotion flashing across her face. Shock, disbelief, but also a sudden, inexplicable flutter of being deeply moved. The phrase was one she knew all too well. Once, the man she had poured her youthful affection into had whispered similar words to her with firm, idealistic conviction. Those words had been a soft light in her darker years, a private refuge. Now the same tenet came from the mouth of another man. Different identity, different status, powerful in his own way. Someone the Rakshasa god had praised as the spokesman for the future god Qing. The coincidence jolted something raw and long buried in her heart. The name Yu Shaogong rose silently within her, bringing with it a tangle of bitterness and confusion. Why was this sentence coming from him? Was it mere coincidence or something more? The Rakshasa god's seductive whisper echoed in her mind. "That small love of yours counts for nothing before true power. Embracing Qing is the shortcut to eternity." Two utterly different voices clashed in Bibi Dong's head, leaving the woman who bore the highest spiritual authority, who could command the world, suddenly inwardly conflicted. She stared at the young man on the stage, confident, composed, seemingly in control of everything. Her gaze turned complex, hard to read, as a tempest of memory and new fascination swirled within her. 182. A shocking declaration of the theory of martial soul evolution, a revolution that overturns common sense. Qing's sentence. There are no trash spirits, only trash spirit masters, had already sent ripples through the hall. His next words were like pouring a ladle of cold water into a boiling pan of oil, instantly driving the atmosphere to a new pitch. Because the premise itself is wrong. Yu Qing's voice was clear and steady, carrying to every corner of the chamber and cutting off the murmurs. All spirits, no matter their initial quality, can evolve into higher forms through acquired cultivation. This is exactly what I have been researching for years, directional guided positive spirit evolution. What? How is that possible? Spirit evolution exists. Ghost Douluo and Poison Douluo are examples, but those are extremely rare accidents. Besides, their spirits weren't worthless to begin with. Directed guidance? That's lunacy. An elderly spirit master from a great family sprang to his feet, disbelief and agitation shaking his voice. He represented the orthodox view: a spirit's nature is heaven-given and not something to be altered by acquired means. Still, not everyone was against Yu Qing. A teacher who'd once taught at the Spirit Hall Academy stood, voice loud. Sect Master Yu, I have personally observed your disciples Duanshin and Zirui. They came from our academy with unremarkable spirits, but their achievements now and the strength their spirits display far surpass what they once were. From that alone, I think you speak the truth. An older researcher from Spirit Hall, his hair threaded with gray, pushed up his glasses and asked, more soberly, Sect Master Yu, it's not as if we at Spirit Hall haven't researched spirit evolution. But the resources required are enormous and the success rate abysmal. For most spirit masters and sects, it's an unaffordable luxury. How do you solve that core problem? Yu Qing smiled calmly, as if he'd expected the question. He didn't argue. Instead, he did something nobody anticipated. From his storage spirit tool, he drew a slightly worn but well-preserved sheet of paper. It bore Spirit Hall's unique mark and spirit power imprint. He unfolded it, and using spirit projection, displayed its contents on the light screen in the center of the hall. Spirit Hall Elementary Spirit Master Certificate. Spirit, green leaf, plant type, innate soul power, rank 3. Evaluation, low spirit quality, insufficient innate soul power, recommended to pursue a lifestyle type path. Those simple lines hit like a thunderclap. The hall went deathly silent. One could have heard a pin drop. Faces froze, eyes wide, mouths open, staring at the projected text in disbelief. And then all at once, they turned to look at the peerless, inscrutable yin-yang sect master on the stage. Green leaf? A textbook example of a worthless spirit. Rank 3 innate soul power? Near the bottom among spirit masters. Recommended for a lifestyle-type path? Practically a death sentence for someone supposed to pursue the spirit master's way. This had been Yu Qing's starting point? The sect master who wore a heaven-defying spirit ring configuration, who had defeated Clear Sky and bested 7 kills, his initial aptitude had really been so abysmal. This can't be, someone shouted. It's fake, but it's a Spirit Hall certificate. It has the imprint. It can't be forged. In the VIP seats, Tang Zhen tightened his fists, eyes like those of a stalking tiger. He muttered, Rank 3, green leaf spirit? He actually rose from that? It's more than prodigy. It's defying heaven. Ning Fengji forgot to wave his folding fan. Shock and bitter amusement crossed his face. We were wrong. He didn't begin at the summit. He carved a path to the heavens from the very bottom of the valley. This youth is beyond mortal comprehension. High above, the Supreme Pontiff Bibi Dong was stunned as well. Purple eyes wide, her expression a tangled mix of astonishment and something deeper. Yu Qing's origin was eerily like Yu Xiaogang's. The man she'd once loved and later resented. Both had worthless spirits and low innate soul power. Yet their ends had diverged wildly. One became a theorist who depended on her protection. The other stood at the continent's peak, possibly entangled in a god-king's schemes. In her mind, a tempting voice whispered, same beginning, different endings. Why hesitate? What Yu Xiaogang couldn't give you, Yu Qing might: power, authority, perhaps even eternal life. Yu Qing slid the certificate away with the cool confidence of someone presenting hard proof. This certificate is authentic. It proves one thing: talent may determine a beginning, but it never defines the end. My present achievements are the strongest, most direct evidence for the directional guided spirit evolution theory I am proposing. His words struck like a bell. All earlier doubts looked pale next to the undeniable fact of his own rise. If his theory were false, how had he himself accomplished this reverse ascent? "I don't believe in so-called fate," he declared. "So I set out to study the essence of spirits. I refined my meditation method and created a unique body-refining technique because I knew the conventional path of a spirit master was unsuitable for someone with my so-called trash start." He paused, then tossed out a more specific question. "Do you know how long it took me to obtain my first spirit ring?" 6 years, a full 6 years. "And do you know the age of that first ring?" The question ignited fresh speculation. 6 years? That early stage must have been brutal. With his power now, his first ring must have been ancient, 1,000 years at least. 1,000? He was so weak then, impossible. Maybe 100 years. 500, perhaps. Qing didn't keep them dangling. "My first spirit ring was 3,000 years old." A collective inhalation of cold air swept the hall. A 3,000-year-old first spirit ring? That shattered the accepted limits of the spirit master's world. The conventional belief was that a first ring could be, at most, around 400 years old. Absorbing an overaged ring brings enormous risk, but it also brings enormous reward, Qing explained. "It didn't just raise my strength. More importantly, it triggered my greenleaf spirit's first positive evolution. It shifted toward a purer life attribute and began developing support capabilities. Thus, one cornerstone of my theory, a higher-aged, more compatible spirit ring, can be an important catalyst for stimulating spirit evolution." The crowd leaned forward, feverish. Pens and tablets came out. Everyone wanted to record this revolutionary knowledge. But, Qing's tone shifted, spirit rings aren't everything. To achieve deeper, fundamental spirit evolution, you must address something more essential. He scanned the hall, then spoke two slow words: "The origin." "The origin?" the old researcher cried, rising as if struck. "What is a spirit's origin? How can it be supplemented?" "The origin is the foundation of a spirit's existence. It is intimately tied to a spirit master's innate soul power. You could say innate soul power is a direct manifestation of the origin's strength." Qing said, "A deficient origin produces a weak spirit and makes it prone to malignant mutation. Supplementing the origin is the key to achieving spirit evolution." "Then, how can the origin be supplemented?" The man's impatience echoed the halls. Qing smiled slightly. He knew that revealing part of his discovery while withholding the most advanced secrets would attract attention and set the stage for what came next. He produced a finely crafted spirit tool pen. Infused with spirit power, its tip traced glowing golden characters in the air. "Today, I will reveal the foundational chapter of the origin supplementation evolution theory. Though this method cannot instantly transform every spirit into a top-tier one, with persistence it can steadily raise an ordinary spirit to a mid-level quality, building a firmer foundation for the path of a spirit master." He wrote in the air, "Basic spirit power circulation techniques, auxiliary absorption of specific medicinal herbs, and methods for gradually nourishing a spirit's origin through a special meditation method." The processes were effective but slow and resource-dependent. They guaranteed gradual improvement rather than the sweeping effects of his deeper, systematic secrets. Yet for the great majority of low-level spirit masters, this was an open door to a new world. In an instant, the hall turned into a giant classroom. Sect disciples, academy students, loose cultivators, and even Ningfengji, Tangzhen, and the other VIPs were rapt, furiously taking notes, memorizing, or contemplating. Every line Qing wrote seemed priceless. But as the frenzy unfolded, Supreme Pontiff Bibi Dong watched from her throne, and recognition flashed across her refined face. The foundation material Qing displayed was disturbingly familiar. The core ideas and certain methods in this foundational chapter of origin supplementation were clearly simplified basics of the spirit evolution method she had obtained from Qing in exchange for Spirit Eagle Douluo not long before. That realization struck like a blow. She clenched her teeth. Fury and indignation flared in her purple eyes. He had publicly revealed the secret she had traded for a titled Douluo? Even if it was only the basics, had she been deceived and then forced to help expose the other man? The chest-tightening indignation of being cheated while still doing the other party a favor washed over her. Qing caught that burning gaze. In a pause between his air writing, he glanced up at the pontiff's throne and offered an incredibly sincere and innocent smile, as if to say, "Look at the service I'm doing to the spirit world." That smile only darkened Bibi Dong's expression further. Chapter 183, Blue-Silver Grass, can also become stronger. Faced with Supreme Pontiff Bibi Dong's almost tangible murderous glare, Yu Qing simply ignored it. He even took the time to add several medicinal bath formulas that could slightly improve physique and strengthen a cultivator's foundation. They weren't revolutionary, and their effects were modest, but for low-level spirit masters scraping by at the bottom, they were a timely boon, improving success rates and safety when absorbing higher-grade spirit rings. From the subversive directional guided spirit evolution to the limit-challenging over-limit spirit ring absorption, the theories Yu Qing had laid out, even if they only sketched the foundations, were enough to ignite a feverish reaction among the spirit masters present. Skepticism and shock quickly gave way to near-fanatical belief. People treated his words like scripture, scribbling them down frantically. Just as Yu Qing paused to give the crowd a moment to digest everything, a middle-aged spirit master who looked urgent raised his hand and, after receiving permission, stood up with a hoarse, excited voice. "Sect Master Yu, you say trash spirits can be strengthened through acquired cultivation. According to your theory, can a universally recognized trash spirit really be developed into a spirit master whose power can rival those with top-tier spirits?" That question voiced the final doubt and the final hope of nearly everyone in the hall. "Of course," Yu Qing replied without the slightest hesitation. A meaningful smile crossed his face, and he gave a look to Aru, who had been smiling quietly beside him. Aru understood, nodded, and slipped behind the VIP seats. A moment later, she led forward 3 children of about 10, their faces timid. These were the 3 young spirit masters with blue-silver grass spirits Yu Qing had specifically brought. They were clearly unused to standing in the center of such a grand occasion. Facing thousands of watchful eyes, their faces went a little pale, their hands clutched at their clothes, and they trembled. But when they looked up and saw the reassuring figure of their sect master, the panic in their eyes faded into firm trust. "Come on, children, don't be afraid. Release your spirits," Yu Qing said gently, like a warm breeze. "Yes, sect master," the 3 answered in unison. They drew a deep breath, calmed themselves, and channeled their spirit power. Instantly, 3 stalks of blue-silver grass appeared in their palms, each slightly different. One had broad, thick, deep blue leaves. Another had slender, faintly purple vines. The last was a vibrant emerald green that looked full of life. "That's blue-silver grass!" Someone in the audience exclaimed. The spirit was unmistakable, practically synonymous with trash spirit. "That's right, blue-silver grass," Yu Qing confirmed, his voice carrying through the hall. Blue-silver grass is the most common plant-type spirit on the Douluo Continent. Traditionally, it's considered fragile and lacking in offensive power and control. By classic spirit evaluation standards, a textbook trash spirit. He changed tone, instructive and composed. But everything exists for a reason. Blue-silver grass has overlooked strengths, extreme environmental adaptability, tremendous inclusiveness, tenacious vitality, and far lower spirit power consumption than many spirits. Because of these traits, I believe blue-silver grass is an ideal example to demonstrate my directional cultivation and evolution theory. Seeing curiosity spark across the crowd, Yu Qing nodded to the children. "Show your spirit rings," they complied. Golden, century-old spirit rings rose from beneath their feet and circled them, emitting surprisingly solid energy fluctuations, clearly surpassing ordinary century-old rings, approaching the power of 300-year rings. "Please watch closely," Yu Qing continued, patient as a tutor. "Given the subtle differences among their individual spirits and their personal traits, I planned 3 different development paths for them." He pointed to the girl with the broad-leafed spirit. Lan Xiaodi follows the reinforcement path. Her first spirit ring is from a resilient century-old iron wire vine. It greatly enhances the toughness and strength of her blue-silver grass. Now, her blue-silver grass has good binding and control capabilities. He then indicated the boy with the faint purple vines. Fu Xiaodong follows the poison path. Early on, I had him absorb trace amounts of plant toxins through special methods to subtly change the nature of his blue-silver grass. Paired with a poison attribute spirit ring from a century-old datura snake, his blue-silver grass now causes paralysis and continuous poison damage, excellent for area control. Finally, he introduced the girl with the vivid emerald spirit. Lin Baihe follows the pure life path. Her blue-silver grass abandoned defense and control in favor of concentrating and releasing vitality. Her first spirit ability focuses solely on healing and recovery. It's still weak now, but the direction is clear and promising. Then Qing offered a tempting challenge. Words can only do so much. Is anyone willing to come up and personally experience what a directionally cultivated blue-silver grass spirit master can do? Like a stone dropped into water, his words rippled through the hall. Soon, coordinated by a Spirit Hall deacon, 3 students from the Spirit Hall Elementary Academy, also at the One Ring Spirit Master realm, were brought forward. Their spirits were the common scythe, iron staff, and vine, ordinary tool-type spirits that in everyone's perception were stronger than blue-silver grass. The one-on-one matches came first. Lan Xiaodi faced the scythe spirit. At first, the scythe user had the edge with stronger physical attacks, but Lan's reinforced blue-silver grass proved extremely tough. She parried and deflected repeatedly, then seized an opening to bind the opponent's scythe and fling them out of the arena. Fu Xiaodong met the iron staff user. Instead of a head-on clash, Fu kept moving, using his poisonous vines to harass. One graze, and the iron staff user felt a wave of paralysis. Their movements slowed, and they were soon subdued. Lin Baihe fought the vine spirit. Her style was unique. She almost never attacked. Instead, she bathed herself in the life-giving light of her blue-silver grass, steadily repairing and enhancing her defenses. The vine user attacked and found their efforts useless. After consuming too much spirit power in a prolonged assault, they admitted defeat. The crowd was already astonished, but the 3-on-3 team battle that followed shattered expectations entirely. The match began with Lan Xiaodi in front, her reinforced blue-silver grass forming a barrier that absorbed the first wave of attacks. Fu Xiaodong operated on the flank, sending poisonous vines to harass and restrict the enemy's movements. Lin Baihe stayed in the rear, occasionally sprinkling emerald spots of vitality that slightly healed her teammates and even made Lan's defensive barrier tougher. The 3 opposition students fought reasonably well individually, but their coordination was clumsy. Lan neutralized their attacks, Fu's poison kept disrupting them, and the teamwork that might have overwhelmed the blue-silver grass trio never came together. Within 5 minutes, the opposing team's spirit power was depleted, and they were each forced out of the arena one by one. The hall erupted. The result was clear. 3 directionally cultivated blue-silver grass spirit masters had easily defeated 3 opponents whose spirits were considered superior simply through coordinated tactics. Did you see that? This is the right direction. Teach according to aptitude. Our previous assumptions about blue-silver grass and about many so-called trash spirits may have been wrong from the start. An elder with white hair and beard, a respected figure in spirit master theory, stood and spoke with trembling excitement. Of course, conservative voices remained. A high-ranking researcher stood, frowned, and raised a practical objection. Sect Master Yu, your demonstration was brilliant, but the fundamental reason blue-silver grass users are viewed as weak is that their innate soul power is generally low. Most blue-silver grass possessors have no spirit power at all. Even the few with a foundation usually only have first or second rank innate power. To raise such practitioners to competent combatants would take enormous resources, time, and effort. Given that investment, wouldn't it be inefficient, more loss than gain? It was a sharp question that voiced the true concern of many sect leaders. Limited resources required prudent choices. Qing didn't bristle. Instead, the corners of his mouth curved into an even brighter, somewhat mysterious smile. He scanned the room, let his gaze settle on the corner, and spoke slowly, delivering a conclusion that made hearts race again. Your point is valid. Cultivation requires resources. But precisely because blue-silver grass has a simple foundation and extraordinary inclusiveness, the obstacles to achieve directional evolution, and the price to do so, could actually be much lower than for many spirits that seem powerful but have fixed, narrow attributes. Much lower. Those four words rang like thunder, exploding through the hall. 184. Crowned Master, famous across the continent. Qing's claim that evolving blue-silver grass is actually easier landed like thunder and echoed through the vast auditorium. While everyone was still reeling from the shock, struggling to digest a statement that upended their assumptions, Qing laid out a more concrete operational framework. His voice was clear and measured, pulling attention back. According to my research, he said, the key to guiding basic spirits like blue-silver grass to a stable evolution is meeting two conditions. He raised a finger. First, a special mimicry cultivation environment made up of large numbers of blue-silver grass that possess spirit power. Seeing puzzled looks, he elaborated. Not ordinary blue-silver grass. Those won't do. What we need are the special individuals that, under the influence of spirit energy, have developed a faint spirituality and can resonate with a spirit master's spirit. In such an environment, a blue-silver grass spirit master's spirit receives natural nurturing and guidance, making evolution far more efficient. He held up a second finger, his tone carrying a hint of significance. Second, an environment with extremely abundant energy. In such a place, a blue-silver grass spirit can absorb energy at an extraordinary rate, accelerating the accumulation and qualitative transformation of its origin. Qing paused, smiling inwardly. He had no intention of revealing every detail. As for what exactly constituted that energy-rich environment, whether it was a blessed sight like the ice and fire yin-yang well, he kept that close to the chest. That secret was a strategic asset he was not about to hand out. Then he focused on the first condition, sketching a vivid prospect. Imagine we can construct a mimicry cultivation ground exclusive to blue-silver grass. Even a blue-silver grass spirit master with only level 1 innate soul power could, at minimum, steadily reach the spirit elder realm. And if we apply the directional guided evolution method I mentioned, cultivating spirit kings from blue-silver grass is not a pipe dream. Spirit king? Allowing a blue-silver grass spirit master to become a spirit king? Even without revealing the energy source, the idea of a dedicated mimicry environment and the possibility of producing spirit kings from what everyone considered trash spirits detonated through the hall. A spirit king was a pillar for many small and medium sects and spirit master families. If blue-silver grass could be mass-produced at that level, it would reshape the entire spirit master's world. Qing's combination of irrefutable personal achievement, the legendary counterattack, and concrete cases of blue-silver grass in combat, plus this apparently feasible evolutionary path, shattered long-held class barriers in people's minds. Skepticism dissolved into admiration. Voices rose. Sectmaster Yu, Grandmaster Yu, this is true Grandmastery. His theory is pioneering. It's a beacon for spirit masters. Compared to Yu Xiaogong's work, which mostly reinterprets existing texts, Qing's has subversive practical support. The tide of public opinion reversed quickly. Qing, with his accomplishments and this hopeful theoretical system, was placed on a new pedestal by the audience. As the debate neared its close, Supreme Pontiff Bibi Dong, seated high on the rostrum, stood. Her face showed no clear emotion, but her purple eyes churned with complexity. She descended the dais and stood beside Qing. The room fell utterly silent, every eye fixed on her. Her voice, cold and solemn, reached every corner. The depth of theory, practical results, and foresight in Sectmaster Yu's presentation today have impressed me deeply, she said. His work is indeed pioneering and benefits the many, since it reflects the will of the people. She paused, then concluded, the title of Grandmaster is well deserved by Sectmaster Yu. A murmur spread through the hall, mostly approving. But then, Bibi Dong added words that stunned many, particularly Qian Shunji in the VIP seats. As for Yu Xiaogong, who previously held the title of Grandmaster, her voice remained steady, though a faint tremor could be heard. While his theories have value, they are insufficient compared to the pioneering contributions of Sectmaster Yu. I hereby revoke Yu Xiaogong's title of Grandmaster, effective immediately. There was an uproar. While many felt Qing deserved the honor, nobody expected the Supreme Pontiff to publicly strip Yu Xiaogong of his title, a gesture that negated his past achievements before the continent's spirit masters. Qian Shunji glanced toward Bibi Dong with surprise and doubt. He knew how deeply she'd cared for Yu Xiaogang and how unlikely she was to make such a decisive public move without cause. Then the audience erupted in cheers. "Grandmaster Yu! Grandmaster Yu!" Spirit Masters spontaneously shouted the new title, showing their recognition and esteem. Yu Qing felt the sound wash over him. He bowed slightly to Bibi Dong and tried to be humble. "Your Holiness, I'm not worthy of such a title." "You are well-deserved." Bibi Dong cut him off, her voice final. She offered him no further chance to protest. Surrounded by Spirit Hall elders and bishops, she turned and walked out of the auditorium. As she passed Yu Qing, a faint voice, audible only to the two of them, slipped into his ear. "You are very good." Those 4 words were drawn out, clipped and edged with chill. Yu Qing froze. He thought, "I'm finished. I've definitely become a target of this woman. All for revealing some basic theories? I'd better be careful from now on." With Bibi Dong's departure, the spirit theory debate that would be remembered in history concluded, but the theoretical storm Yu Qing had unleashed was only beginning to sweep the continent. Back in the Yin-Yang sect's spacious lounge, Yu Qing fell back onto a soft sofa and stared at the ornate ceiling, exhaling a long sigh. He had achieved far more than his initial goals. The sect had been reselected as the #1 under heaven, and he had been crowned Grandmaster at the debate. His foundation on the Douluo Continent felt rock solid. Still, he didn't expect peace to last. His thoughts drifted to Tang Hao. News of Tang Hao's transformed spirit beast wife, Ayun, would soon reach Qian Shunji. The spirit hunting operation was likely entering its countdown. He wondered whether Tang Hao's child had already been conceived. If not, then perhaps Tang San might indeed have to come out of Yin's belly. This plotline was getting stranger by the minute. He pushed the thought away. Soon he would return to the ice and fire yin-yang well and could personally confirm the situation of his child and whether Tang San really would reincarnate. Meanwhile, Yu Qing's name, along with the legend of his counterattack from a level 3 innate trash spirit to godlike status, and his subversive theories on spirit evolution and overlimit absorption, spread rapidly across the Douluo Continent. He was sure to become an idol and guiding light for countless spirit masters, especially those from the lower ranks. Late that night in the Supreme Pontiff's palace, Bibi Dong dismissed her attendants and stood alone on the balcony, staring at the lights of Spirit City. In her hands, she held 2 things tightly. The scroll Yu Qing had given her in exchange for Ling Yuan when he first demonstrated his spirit evolution theory, containing more detailed content, though still not the core secret, and a small jade vial holding the medicinal pill Yu Qing had included, said to improve innate soul power. Her expression shifted under the moonlight, sometimes conflicted, sometimes cold, sometimes edged with ruthlessness. After a long while, she seemed to reach a decision. To the empty room, she whispered, cold and resolute, "Rakshasa God, your new trial, I agree." A flash of pain crossed her eyes, but it was quickly replaced by a deeper coldness and lethal resolve. "But before that," she murmured, "I must first settle some matters, some past ties that should have been severed long ago." Her silhouette under the moon was lonely, but her determination beat like a drum. Whatever choice she had made, she would see it through. "Very good, Bibi Dong. Once you successfully devour a member of the angel bloodline and use their holy blood to open the Rakshasa secret realm, I will give you a brand new Rakshasa God trial." The seductive, sinister whisper echoed again in Bibi Dong's mind. She drew a deep breath, forcing down the turmoil that churned in her chest. Carefully, she put away the scroll containing part of the evolution theory and the small bottle of medicinal pills. The last trace of hesitation in her eyes hardened into something almost cruelly decisive. Devour an angel clansman. Her goal was now crystal clear. Qian Shunji. His name rolled across her heart like a stone, each syllable coated with bone-deep hatred. Meanwhile, Yu Qing remained in Spirit City for 3 more days. He was far from idle. He monitored movements, and after confirming that Tang Hao of the Clear Sky sect had quietly left Spirit City, he acted. In a hidden room, Yu Qing sat cross-legged, a faint soul radiance flickering at his fingertips as he separated off a weakened soul clone. The clone possessed less than 10% of his main strength and could last only up to 3 months, but its concealment and tracking capabilities were exceptional. Go. Follow Tang Hao. Watch him and his wife closely, especially for any signs of pregnancy. Report anything unusual to me immediately through the soul connection, Yu Qing instructed. The soul clone inclined its head and dissolved into shadow, slipping away in the direction Tang Hao had taken. Only then did Yu Qing allow himself a small sigh and begin arranging for the yin-yang sect to prepare for departure, returning to their foundation, the ice and fire yin-yang well. On the day before they were due to leave, an unannounced but weighty visitor interrupted their preparations. The pillar of the spirit hall, High Priest Douluo, a rank 99 Super Douluo. Sect Master Yu, forgive my unannounced visit, Douluo said, his voice calm and carrying the implacable majesty of an elder. Yu Qing's heart stirred. He had guessed some of the purpose, but his face remained composed as he welcomed the High Priest into his residence. The High Priest graces this humble place. What guidance do you bring? Douluo did not hesitate. I have come to invite Sect Master Yu to participate in a spirit awakening ceremony my angel family will hold. At the same time, I wish to formally have my granddaughter Shuer take Sect Master Yu as her teacher. As Yu Qing had expected, his performance at the sect convention and the theory debate, especially his work on spirit evolution and limit-breaking absorption, had clearly impressed the angel family's highest authority. For the sake of Qian Renshui's future, Douluo had lowered himself to seek an unconventional teacher with vast potential. I am honored by the High Priest's regard, Yu Qing said after a moment and accepted readily. It will be my honor to participate in your grand event. A faint smile touched Douluo's usually impassive face. Excellent. Sect Master Yu, please follow me. Yu Qing gave final instructions to Aru and the others, then followed Douluo up Spirit Mountain to the Hall of Worship, the Spirit Hall's most magnificent building. When they reached the wide plaza before the hall, a number of people had already gathered. The atmosphere was solemn. Qian Shunji and Bibi Dong stood among them, 6 elders with profound auras and spirit power, at least ranked 95, dressed in dark gold worship robes, watched with solemn faces the remaining great priests of the Spirit Hall, from the 2nd priest, Gold Crocodile Douluo, through the 7th priest. Yu Qing's arrival drew all eyes. Qian Shunji's brow knitted when he saw his father bring an outsider. He stepped forward, voice low and tense. Father, today is an important internal spirit awakening for our angel family. Why bring an outsider? The family's angelic spirit had been jealously guarded for generations. An outsider's presence offended the old order. Bibi Dong, a short distance away, stared with surprise, then thoughtfulness. When Douluo spoke next, a cold premonition bloomed in her heart. Douluo's gaze swept calmly over his son and the priests. I have brought Sect Master Yu because I have decided that Shuer will formally take Sect Master Yu as her teacher today. Today's awakening will also be Shuer's apprenticeship ceremony. A shocked chorus rose. What? Let the young lady take Yu Qing as her teacher? Except for Gold Crocodile Douluo, who already knew and showed no expression, the other 5 priests stared openly, disbelief written on each face. Letting the young lady, heiress of the Holy Angel bloodline, take an outsider as her teacher was unheard of. Qian Sunji's face flickered. He opened his mouth, then closed it under his father's unyielding gaze. He grasped, reluctantly, that his father's decision was final. He understood what Yu Qing's theoretical talent could mean for Shuer's future. This might be the chance for her to surpass prior generations of angel descendants. Still, as a father watching his daughter placed with another man's tutelage, resentment and unease churned in him. Bibi Dong's reaction was more complicated. She had already accepted the Rakshasa god's bizarre new god trial that tied her fate to Yu Qing's. That bond would only create more entanglements between them, perhaps even make her one of his wives. The thought humiliated her, and she had comforted herself with the thought of being bitten by a dog. Now her daughter would be his disciple first. Wouldn't that complicate everything? At the same time, Bibi Dong's maternal feelings were thin. She harbored bitterness toward Qian Renshui, the child born from Qian Shunji's coercion. Was allowing Renshui to study under Yu Qing a way to disrupt whatever plans she might have against Qian Shunji and the angel family? Her emotions jostled for dominance. Why be afraid? The Rakshasa god's sultry, mocking voice slipped into her mind. Isn't it a boon for your daughter to take him as a teacher? You'll have a legitimate reason to contact Qing often, caring about your daughter's studies. Being in that favored position gives advantages. For your path to godhood, what is a little loss of reputation? Even if you must use your daughter, the benefits will outweigh the costs. Bibi Dong's eye twitched. The suggestion made her nauseous, yet the whisper's logic prickled at a part of her that craved power and revenge. She closed off the surge of conscience and, with a flash of cold resolve, decided, since she had chosen this path, a tarnished reputation was a small price. If anyone was to blame, it was her daughter for being born to the wrong parents. She withheld objection and watched instead, already calculating how to exploit this new relationship. Douluo ignored the whirl of private thoughts and stepped forward with a gesture. Sect Master Yu, please enter the hall. Qing nodded and, guided by the high priest and framed by the varying gazes of the spirit hall's leaders, entered the hall of worship. The interior was vast yet well lit. Soft golden light poured from the dome like a blessing. At the far end rose a towering seraphim statue that radiated a boundless, holy aura. Beneath the statue, on a soft cushion, a small figure knelt piously with her back to the entrance. A mop of golden hair, like woven sunlight, fell down her back. Bathed in the statue's light, she looked haloed and pure, like a little angel fallen to the mortal world. She was Qian Renshui. Qing noticed something else. For her apparent age, Qian Renshui did not seem to have undergone her spirit awakening yet. Awakening often happened at 6. This felt later. There might be some special tradition in the angel family. A faint investigative curiosity stirred in him as he stood and watched. Inside the hall of worship, the air was solemn and heavy. The statue of the angel god cast a holy light that bathed the center of the hall, illuminating every face. All eyes were fixed on the blonde girl kneeling within that radiance, Qian Renshui. The angel clan's spirit awakening ceremony was far more complex and sacred than an ordinary spirit master's. In addition to the customary 6 awakening black stones arranged in a hexagram, an exquisite golden chalice sat at the center. The chalice contained a faintly glowing liquid, the holy blood, passed down through generations of the angel Douluo and said to carry a trace of divine power. Douluo presided personally, his expression solemn as his hands formed seals and he chanted ancient prayers. At his command, the 6 awakening stones lit with soft white light. The golden holy blood reflected within them, forming a complex light array that enveloped Qian Renshui. Her eyes were closed, long golden lashes trembled. Her face wore a look of piety and serenity as warm, powerful energy flowed into her from all directions, stirring something dormant in her bloodline. The ceremony lasted about the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Then the holy blood in the chalice seemed to draw itself up into a thin stream. It rose, coiled around Qian Renshui's slender fingers, and finally merged into her palm. At that touch, her body convulsed. A pure, noble divine aura erupted from her like a waking volcano. Dazzling golden light shot upward, instantly outshining the awakening stones and the chalice. Within that blinding radiance, 3 pairs of massive wings of pure light slowly unfurled behind her. They were only phantoms, but the holy, majestic aura, one that seemed able to cleanse all corruption, made the entire hall tremble. Seraphim! Qian Daolu's voice shook with joy. Wonderful, Shuer. She has awakened the purest bloodline of our clan. Qian Shunji's face split with elation, fists clenched. Every angel clan member present and the 6 great priests shared the same awe. To awaken a complete seraphim spirit meant supreme potential, the future hope of the angel clan. In the corner, Bibi Dong's purple eyes flashed with a complicated mix of emotions. The astonishing talent of her daughter stirred a bitter nostalgia in her, a reminder of a past she resented. But beneath that loathing, a trace of pride, so faint she would not admit it even to herself, sprouted. Look, this is my daughter, and her talent is unmatched. Such pure light aura, truly tantalizing, the Rakshasa god murmured in Bibi Dong's mind, laced with greed and mockery. Angel god, just wait. I will corrupt your perfect successor step by step, stain her with the deepest darkness. Heh, especially with the wild card that is Qing. This is getting interesting. The shock of the awakening was followed by the spirit power test, and the hall's excitement climbed even higher. When Qian Renshui pressed her small hand to the testing crystal, it flared with blinding light. Then, to everyone's stunned gaze, a clear number appeared on its surface, 20. Innate rank 20 spirit power, someone cried. Heaven blesses the angel clan. A miracle, truly a miracle. The hall erupted. Innate full spirit power of rank 20 meant Qian Renshui could directly obtain her first 2 spirit rings, an ability legends reserved for successors of divine spirits. As if responding to her pure angel spirit, the angel god statue at the end of the hall trembled and radiated an even grander golden light, resonating with her. Statue resonance. Cher has won the favor of the angel god. Qian Douluo declared, awe and reverence in his voice. He was certain his granddaughter was the chosen successor. Steeling himself, he took Qian Renshui's hand and approached Yu Qing, who had stood quietly at the edge of the crowd, smiling. Sect Master Yu, Qian Douluo said with unusual solemnity, my granddaughter, the future of the angel clan, is entrusted to you from this day. Teach her well and help her soar. Yu Qing nodded and crouched to meet Qian Renyi's golden eyes. Little one, he asked gently, are you willing to accept me as your master? Qian Renshui studied him carefully. Though young, her heritage and talent made her more discerning than her years. She could see the weight of her grandfather's trust on this man. After a long, measured look, she nodded, voice steady. I am willing. Several angel elders, unable to restrain themselves, stepped forward with objections. High Priest, think carefully. The young lord's path and ring selection determine her future foundation. It must be planned by our most experienced elders. An outsider cannot be trusted. How can an outsider understand the mysteries of the angel spirit? If there's the slightest misstep, it will be too late to regret. Qian Douluo glanced at them, but let his granddaughter decide. Qian Renshui's calm assent and her grandfather's firm gaze were decisive. Yet the elder's scorn needed answering. Yu Qing rose slowly and without a word extended his will. A tremendous aura burst outward from him. Then a sight none would forget appeared. 9 spirit rings rose from beneath his feet. First purple, purple, black, 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 red, red, each ring carrying a crushing pressure that made souls shudder. The 3 dark rings, and, in particular, the 3 blood-red 100,000-year rings blinded many with their radiance. The entire hall froze. This is, the elders stammered. Yu Qing's voice rolled out, calm and thunderous. This was my spirit ring configuration before I accepted the god trial. The lights in the rings flowed, and the colors shifted. The rings rearranged into black, 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 red, 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 3 black and 6 red. An aura of divine supremacy filled the hall, suffocating even Qian Douluo and the other peak powerhouses. And this, Yu Qing continued, eyes sweeping over the stunned elders, a faint smile at his lips, is the configuration after I accepted the god trial. You can guess which trial I have completed. Silence fell like a blade. Those who had just opposed him now looked at Yu Qing with open awe and reverence, even fanaticism. A god candidate, a prodigy who had completed at least 7, perhaps 8 trials, someone destined for godhood, would be teaching their young lord. It was not a grievance, but an honor unmatched. We will follow the high priest's decision, the elders said, bowing in unison. Congratulations to the young lord on finding a renowned master. The apprenticeship ceremony proceeded smoothly. Qian Renshui performed the rites and offered tea to Yu Qing. Qian Douluo moved, produced a jade box, and handed it over. Sect Master Yu, this is the right arm bone of a 99,000-year-old blazing golden eagle. Its attribute does not match my angel spirit, so I have no use for it. Let it serve as Shuer's tuition. Please accept it. Yu Qing accepted without refusal. He then took a medicinal pill the size of a dragon's eye from his storage, giving off a strange fragrance and shimmering glow, and handed it to Qian Renshui. Shuer, this is a ring ascension pill from your master. After taking it, you can raise the age of any spirit ring by at least 500 years. It can be taken repeatedly. I have verified the effects. Raise the age of spirit rings? Murmurs rippled through the hall. At least 500 years? Repeatedly? Unheard of. Qian Sunji stepped forward, eyes burning. Sect Master Yu, do you have more of these pills? I'll pay any price. Yu Qing shook his head, regret soft in his tone. Refining them is extremely difficult, and the materials are rare. I only managed to make a few by luck. I have no more. Qian Shunji bit back his disappointment under Qian Daoliu's gaze. If you can refine them again, please give us priority. Name any terms as long as our spirit hall can meet them. Yu Qing glanced at him but thought privately. Exchange? That's only possible if you survive that long. Outwardly, he merely nodded. If there's a surplus, I will consider it. With that, the apprenticeship was sealed. Qian Daoliu entrusted his granddaughter to Yu Qing completely and sent no protectors to follow them as a sign of absolute trust. Yu Qing took Qian Renshui's small hand and led her out of the hall of worship. She walked obediently at his side, curiosity and calculation clouding her golden eyes as she appraised her new master. They had not gone far toward Yu Qing's base when a cool voice called from behind them. Sect Master Yu, please wait. Yu Qing turned. Supreme Pontiff Bibi Dong stood not far away, having caught up. Her deep purple eyes fixed on him, expression unreadable and complicated. 187. The darling of the teacher's wives. Yu Qing held Qian Renshui's small hand. Not long after they left the hall of worship, a purple figure materialized at the corridor corner ahead of them like a ghost, blocking their path. It was Supreme Pontiff Bibi Dong in her flowing purple papal robes. Her stunning face wore a complicated expression as she looked straight at Yu Qing, or more precisely, at the tiny blonde figure beside him. Yu Qing stopped, brow knitting as alarm bells rang in his head. This woman had followed them. What did she want? Had she changed her mind and come to take Qian Renshui back? Or was this some deeper, more troublesome scheme? Keeping his face calm, he slightly shielded Qian Renshui behind him and asked evenly, "May I ask what business Her Holiness has with me, waiting here like this?" Bibi Dong didn't answer at once. Her gaze slid past Yu Qing and fixed on Qian Renshui, who timidly peeked out. Then, as if she had made a decision, she inhaled slowly. What she said next surprised both Yu Qing and Qian Renshui. "I." Her voice trembled faintly before she suppressed it and spoke clearly and firmly. "My daughter, I will leave her in your care." Yu Qing stood frozen, invisible question marks practically sprouting over his head. He had imagined countless possibilities, but never this, a tone of entrustment, so unlike Bibi Dong. Was it a ruse? Playing the family card to lower his guard? Qian Renshui looked up sharply, her golden eyes wide with disbelief. Her mother had always been cold or distant. When had she ever sounded almost gentle? Her nose pricked, and tears glistened. Bibi Dong seemed oblivious to their astonishment. She went on, as if stating a fact to herself. "I know I've been irresponsible and neglected you, even," she hesitated, swallowing, "even very cold. But swear, you are still my daughter. That will never change." Then, unexpectedly, she slowly crouched to meet Qian Renshui eye to eye. The move left both children and man bewildered. Bibi Dong reached out, her hands well cared for, the Supreme Pontiff's ring glittering, and gently touched Qian Renshui's fair cheek. Her touch was awkward, as if unused to such closeness, but the warmth made Qian Renshui tremble. She did not pull away. "Shuer," Bibi Dong's voice softened, coaxing in a way Qian Renshui had never heard. "When you go to your master's place, be good, cultivate well, and listen to your master, okay?" Qian Renshui nodded vigorously, biting her lower lip to stop the tears spilling over. She feared it was a dream and that her mother would turn cold again in a blink. Seeing her daughter's tears, something prickled in Bibi Dong's chest. A strange sourness rose, and she continued in that gentle tone. "Mama had knots in her heart before, pain and confusion. That's why I treated you that way. Shuer, can you forgive Mama? Once I untie those knots, I will truly treat you sincerely." Those words, half apology, half promise, broke down Qian Renshui's defenses. She stepped forward, wrapped her tiny arms around Bibi Dong's neck, and buried her face in her mother's shoulder, sobbing, "Mama, I missed you so much. I missed you every day." For the first time in countless days and nights, the warmth she had longed for seemed to arrive. Bibi Dong's body stiffened like stone. Her daughter's sudden hug caught her off guard. An unfamiliar mixture of warmth and embarrassment pounded against her heart. She instinctively wanted to pull away, but the Rakshasa god's whisper echoed in her mind. "Hold her tight. Play the scene to the end. This is the first step to winning trust for the greater plan." Bibi Dong took a steadying breath and suppressed her discomfort and a flicker of guilt. Her movements were clumsy as she returned the hug, patting the child's back and murmuring, "Good child. Mama was wrong. Once Mama has sorted herself out, we'll be together." In that embrace, her stiffness gradually slackened. After a pause, she raised her hands and hugged Qian Renshui back, an unfamiliar but solemn gesture. Yu Qing watched the whole tableau of mother and daughter with an expression sliding from vigilance to sheer bewilderment. What was going on? Was someone handing out the wrong script? Bibi Dong and Qian Renshui reconciling in front of Spirit Hall's entrance. This woman was dangerously deep. There had to be a conspiracy. Was she using family ties to later abduct Qian Renshui to control him? The more he thought, the more plausible the worst-case scenarios seemed. He narrowed his eyes at Bibi Dong. The embrace lasted a long time before Qian Renshui reluctantly released her hold. Tear tracks streaked her face, but a radiant, unprecedented smile bloomed. When Bibi Dong stood and looked at Yu Qing, her eyes reverted to their usual coldness, though a subtle complexity lingered. Remembering the Rakshasa god's prompt about getting close to Yu Qing, she hesitated, then asked in an offhand tone, "Sect Master Yu, if I miss my daughter later, may I visit her often?" Yu Qing almost choked, alarm bells blazing. Of course, this was the dagger thrust. She wanted to find the location of his yin-yang sect headquarters. If she learned where his nest was, panic churned, but he kept his composure and offered a reasoned reply. "It's only natural for Her Holiness to miss her daughter. Of course you may visit. How about this? If you want to see Shuer, send someone to Heaven Dose City to find poisoned Douluo Dugubo. He's a good friend of mine. I'll bring Shuer to meet you." He set the meeting point in Heaven Dose City and used Dugubo as an intermediary, neatly concealing the specific location of the ice and fire yin-yang well. Bibi Dong studied him as if seeing through his caution, but she didn't press further. She simply nodded. That will do." They exchanged a few more words before Yu Qing took Qian Renshui, who kept glancing back at her mother, and hurried away from the place that made his skin crawl. Once he and the little girl were out of sight, the forced gentleness melted from Bibi Dong's face, replaced by her usual cold indifference. She gave a soft sigh, a complicated light flashing in purple eyes. Very softly, she whispered to herself, "I'm sorry, Shuer. Don't blame Mama for being heartless. For the sake of my great revenge, for the sake of ascending to the god position, sacrifices must be made. Consider it giving a piece of strength for Mama's future." Her shadow stretched long in the setting sun, lonely and resolute. Yu Qing brought Qian Renshui back to the yin-yang sect's temporary residence in Spirit City without incident. As they entered the living room, Aro, lounging and sipping tea, looked up and noticed Yu Qing with the small carved-in jade, shy girl at his side. She set her teacup down and asked with curiosity, her gaze soft on the child. "Qing, you're back. Who is this little cutie?" Puffing out his chest with a triumphant grin, Yu Qing announced, "Come, Aru, let me properly introduce her. This is my newly accepted disciple, Qian Renshui." Aru's eyes flicked to the surname, a surprised glint in her pink irises. "Qian? That surname? Could she be the Supreme Pontiff's daughter? How did you manage to get her to become your disciple? Do you even need to ask?" Yu Qing preened, pride written all over his face. "Of course, your husband is powerful, theoretically invincible, and overflowing with charisma. Even Spirit Hall had to yield and send their future hope to be trained under my wing." Aru covered her mouth, chuckling, and gave him a playful roll of the eyes. Yes, my husband is amazing." Yu Qing, in high spirits, guided the still stiff Qian Renshui toward Aru and said softly, "Shuer, this is your mistress Aru, your master's first madam." Qian Renshui looked up at the kindly smiling woman. The tension eased from her small frame. She bowed politely in a clear, sweet voice. "Greetings, mistress." "Oh, how obedient, such a good child." Aru's heart melted. She bent down and hugged Qian Renshui, taking in the faint, milky scent and the child's innocence. Word of Yu Qing's new disciple spread through the residence like wildfire. Beautiful women poured from their rooms until the living room was full. Duanxin, Ziruyi, Purple Pearl, Shui Wuyue, Shui Wuxiang, Feng Lingyin, and even newly arrived Ling Yuan crowded around, eager and curious. "Wow, is this the little disciple husband took in? So cute, look at that blonde hair like an angel," Purple Pearl cried, eyes shining. "Come here, let mistress hug you. Oh, these cheeks are so soft." Duanxin shoved forward, ready to claim her turn. Ziruyi knelt gently, voice soft to avoid frightening the shy child. Surrounded by these fragrant, distinctive mistresses and their warmth, Qian Renshui felt for the first time such attention and affection. She steadied herself and repeated politely, "Greetings, mistresses. My name is Qian Renshui. Please guide me." "Qian Renshui." Lingyuan Douluo, standing on the edge, repeated the name under her breath. As a former high-ranking member of Spirit Hall, she was alert to the surname and studied Qian Renshui closely, especially that brilliant blonde hair. Her eyes widened in disbelief. "The Supreme Pontiff's daughter? Young Lady Qian Renshui?" "What? The Supreme Pontiff's daughter? My God, husband actually snatched the Spirit Hall's young lord right under their noses." Ling Yuan's exclamation hit like a stone thrown into a still pond, setting the group of wives buzzing with shock and excitement. Yu Qing looked over at the lively, warm chaos and couldn't help but let a faint smile tug at his lips. 188. The first meeting between the two disciples. When Ling Yuan revealed Qian Renshui's identity, the living room fell silent for a heartbeat. Then the surprise melted into warmth. To Yu Qing's wives, whether Qian Renshui was the Supreme Pontiff's granddaughter or an ordinary child mattered less than one thing. She was now their husband's newly accepted disciple, their junior sister. Zirui was the first to move. Gentle and attentive, she approached Qian Renshui with a soft smile, crouched down, and produced a crystal-clear fruit from her storage spirit tool. It gave off a faint purple glow and a light fragrance. "Little Shuer, for our first meeting, I don't have anything extravagant. Take this star spirit fruit." She placed it carefully in the girl's small hand. "It raises spirit power without side effects, and it tastes quite good." Qian Renshui stared at the extraordinary fruit, still too stunned to speak. Before she could thank her, Duan Xin, blunt and effervescent, tugged her forward with a grin. "If Sister Rui's gift helps spirit power, then mine will bolster your body." She opened a jade box to reveal a pill the size of a longan, patterned with a golden dragon and pulsing with a warm blood and qi fluctuation. "This is dragon essence. It tempers the bones and strengthens the physique. Take one after a hard cultivation day, and you'll feel like a dragon and tiger tomorrow." Aru stepped up next and took from her storage a crescent-shaped blue gemstone that felt cool and seemed to hold moonlight within. "This is a yin moonstone. Wearing it calms the mind and speeds spirit condensation." She tied it around Qian Renshui's slender neck with careful fingers. With those three leading, the others crowded around, eager to give their gifts. Sisters Shui Wuxiang and Shui Wuyue offered a flask of water-rime fragrant dew to nourish the meridians. Purple Pearl pressed several lustrous water-avoiding beads into the girl's hands. Even Ling Yuan produced a hairpin made from her own shed feathers, said to slightly enhance affinity with the fire element. In no time, Qian Renshui's arms were piled high with rare and costly items, resources that, in the outside world, could push an average spirit master to the spirit saint realm. The little girl held the heavy bundle of kindness, her face flushed, her eyes beginning to shine. She had never been so spoiled. More than the value of the gifts, it was this unreserved care that made her feel the warmth of family again. She looked up at Master Yu Qing, clutching the presents, and murmured, "Master, this." Yu Qing smiled and ruffled her golden hair. "Silly girl, since your sisters gave them to you, accept them happily. They'll help your cultivation." He grew more serious. "But don't rush to use them. When we return to the sect, I'll lay a solid foundation for you first. Then we'll plan the use of these resources so they do the most good." "Thank you, Master." "Thank you, sisters." Qian Renshui nodded vigorously, her heart like sunlight. That night, after settling her into a warm room prepared for her, Yu Qing returned to the main lounge. Aru and Duan Xin were sitting on the bed, smiling at him with a hint of mischief. Yu Qing instinctively touched his lower back and forced a smile. "It's late. Why aren't you two asleep? Any instructions?" Duan Xin sprang up, hands on her hips in mock sternness. "What do you think, husband? Between the spirit hall work and accepting a disciple, you've neglected us. Tonight you should make it up to us properly." Aru rose and slipped an arm through his. "Yes, start with some yin-yang harmonization, husband. Sister Rui, Pearl, and the others are all waiting their turn." Yu Qing's face told the tale. He could already foresee his kidneys' future complaints. They retired to the night's proper indulgences. The house hummed with a warm, intimate atmosphere until the small hours. When dawn came, Qing emerged from the lounge pale and bleary-eyed, rubbing a sore waist. He brewed a tonic medicinal stew himself, drank it down, and felt a warm current return to his dantian. Color came back to his face. With so many wives, each fierce in their own way, the strain on my body keeps growing, he muttered, half amused, half resigned. I'll have to redouble my cultivation of the extreme yin reversal to yang technique, or I'll be drained dry someday. After breakfast, he rallied everyone to pack. The yin-yang sect convoy finally left Spirit City, bound for their foundation grounds at the Ice and Fire Yin-Yang Well. Not long after they had cleared the gates, the thunder of hooves came from behind. Douluo rode up at speed, holding his excited granddaughter, Yan Yan, who waved both hands. Qing had the convoy halt and met him. "Old Poison, why are you alone with Yan Yan? Where's sister-in-law Ning?" Qing asked. Douluo reined in, an apologetic smile on his face. Yair has been homesick and wants to visit the 7-treasure glazed tile school and her father. As a son-in-law, I have to accompany her. I'll have to trouble you to look after Yan Yan for a while. Qing reached out and took the lively child in his arms like a swallow catching a breeze. "Don't worry, with Yan Yan here, I'll raise her healthy and plump. Grandpa, come back soon. Yan Yan will miss you." The little girl blew him a big, blinding smile and an exaggerated kiss. The sourness in Douluo's expression melted away. He nodded repeatedly. "Good, good. I'll come back as soon as I finish this business." After Douluo turned his horse and rode off, Qing set Yan Yan down and went to Qian Renshui, who had been watching the exchange quietly by the carriage. He took each girl's small hand in his, smiling. "Yan Yan, let me introduce you properly. This is Master's newly accepted disciple, Qian Renshui. She is your junior sister from now on. You two must get along and take care of each other, okay?" Then he addressed Qian Renshui. "Shuier, this is your senior sister, Douluo Yan. She entered the sect earlier than you. If you have any questions about cultivation, you can ask her." Fire-like Yan Yan and the quiet, elegant Qian Renshui met each other's eyes, curiosity and wonder in their gazes, as the two began the first steps of a new sisterhood. On the way back, with the new member Qian Renshui joining them, the group grew considerably livelier, especially after she paired up with Douluo Yan, who was about the same age. The two young girls quickly hit it off. Yes, literally, hit it off. That was Douluo Yan's usual way of establishing her place in the martial world. When she first met Xiao Wu, she had done the same. After a friendly exchange of blows and the clear conclusion that she was a bit weaker, she had promptly called Xiao Wu Big Sister. Now, faced with the quiet-looking junior sister Qian Renshui, Douluo Yan's urge to be the elder bubbled up again. During a break when their master and the others were distracted, Douluo Yan challenged Qian Renshui to a duel to decide who was the elder sister. Qian Renshui was calmer, but as the inheritor of the Seraphim bloodline, she had pride of her own and refused to back down. The two girls squared off in a small clearing. Because she had entered the sect earlier, had a slightly higher spirit rank, and controlled her Jade Phosphor Serpent Emperor martial soul more skillfully, Douluo Yan's attacks were sharp, poison mist curling through the air. Qian Renshui's spirit quality was superb, but she had only recently awakened and still used the Seraphim power clumsily. She fought more on instinct, relying on raw, holy attribute to resist. The fight was hard fought. In the end, Douluo Yan managed to paralyze Qian Renshui's limbs with a mild snake venom technique, and with experience and a little luck, claimed victory. "I won!" Douluo Yan wiped the sweat from her brow, puffed out her slightly developing chest, and grinned with the joy of triumph. She strode over to the panting, unwilling Qian Renshui and crowed, "Well, little sister Shui, now you know who's stronger, right? Say it, call me Big Sister Yan Yan." A flash of stubbornness crossed Qian Renshui's golden eyes, but she understood the rule that the loser had to accept the outcome. She took a steadying breath, and in a voice barely louder than the buzz of an insect, murmured, "Bye, Big Sister Yan Yan." "Aha, that's more like it." Douluo Yan beamed, as if some solemn rite had been completed. She stepped forward, patted Qian Renshui on the shoulder, and looped an arm around her neck in an affectionate, mock-sisterly way. "Little Sister Shui, from now on, we're sisters in the sect. We must stick together against outsiders. When we get back, I'll take you to meet Big Sister Xiao Wu. She's our earliest big boss and very, very powerful." After that impromptu match, the two girls warmed to each other rapidly. What had begun in tension turned into an outwardly inseparable sisterhood, at least on the surface. Qing watched the whole scene with a knowing smile and didn't intervene. To him, a little sparring among disciples built bonds and sharpened skill. As long as it stayed within limits, it was beneficial. He couldn't help but chuckle inwardly. Enjoy being called Big Sister while you can, Yan Yan. You won't be in that position for long. Qing knew Qian Renshui's terrible talent well enough. Once she received systematic training and learned to channel the seraphim power, surpassing Du Guyan would be only a matter of time. Who would call whom Big Sister then was anyone's guess. About 50 miles from Spirit City, Qing had everyone abandon the carriage and opened a space tunnel. As they slipped into the tunnel, a shadowy figure detached itself from behind a distant tree and watched them leave. Hooded, with a sudden gravity to his expression, he muttered, "Space traversal spirit ability? And it's highly unstable. This yin-yang sect leader sure has endless tricks." He melted back into the dark and vanished. After shaking off their tail, the group exited the space traversal state 100 miles later and reappeared in a forest beside an official road. For the remainder of the trip, they resumed traveling by carriage. Qing used the time to start indoctrinating Qian Renshui, or, as he preferred to call it, offering guidance. Inside the carriage, he turned into a life mentor, effortlessly dishing out bits of wisdom. His steady, magnetic voice and a string of encouraging philosophies had Qian Renshui nodding repeatedly. Her golden eyes shone with reflection. Even Du Guyan, listening from the side, found the words inspiring. Knowing their physiques, Qing also prepared various medicinal dishes to strengthen bones and nourish meridians, and occasionally gave them pills to subtly improve their aptitude, laying a firmer foundation for cultivation. And every few days without fail, he maintained the yin-yang dual cultivation sessions with his beloved wives, which remained a fixed part of life. Half a month later, they had completed most of the journey and stopped for the night in a quiet little town. After evening cultivation, Qing gathered his wives in his room. Sitting in a circle, hands pressed together, they performed yin-yang conjunction to synchronize spirit power and encourage growth. A soft light flowed through the room, their breathing fell into harmony, and a calm warmth settled over them. When the session ended, the wives, considering tomorrow's travel and wanting to preserve their strength, didn't stay for any of the deeper private rituals that sometimes followed. They wished each other good night and returned to their rooms. Qing breathed a small sigh of relief. He was about to settle down and check the information his soul clone had sent him, which was tracking Tang Hao thousands of miles away, when there came a soft knock. "Who could that be at this hour?" Qing asked, rising to open the door. Standing there were the Ling sisters, Ling Xin and Ling Mo. The elder, Ling Xin, kept her head lowered, fingers twisted nervously in the hem of her clothing, cheeks flushed and eyes avoiding his. The younger, Ling Mo, looked more composed, but her eyes betrayed a hopeful, shy tension. "Oh, it's you two? Is something the matter so late?" Qing asked, watching their different reactions. Ling Xin lifted her head, lips trembling as she tried to speak, voice barely a whisper. We wanted to." She stammered and turned even redder, unable to finish the sentence. Seeing her sister's embarrassment, Ling Mao exhaled softly, pulled Ling Xin aside, stepped forward herself, and looked Qing straight in the eye. "Brother Qing," she said bluntly, "we've been with you a long time now. The other sisters have already agreed. When are you going to sign that Dao companion contract with us?" Her words hit him like a cold splash of water. Qing slapped his forehead exaggeratedly and feigned annoyance. "Oh, how could I forget such an important thing? I deserve a scolding." The truth was, he hadn't entirely forgotten. He'd planned to wait until they returned to the sect to sign the contract publicly in front of everyone. It would explain things to the other wives and give his kidneys a short rest. His mental tally ran through the implications. Once he contracted this pair, he'd formally face the onslaught of 11 insatiable wives. The thought made him wince inwardly. But now that the sisters had come to him, hopeful and expectant, postponing longer felt wrong. "Very well," he said with a smile. He took Ling Xin and Ling Mu by the hands, led them into his room, and closed the door. No time like the present. Since you brought it up, we'll do it now. The sisters' faces lit up with joy. Qing focused his mind and called the Tao companion system. Two contract scrolls, glowing with a mysterious golden light and inscribed with deep rules, appeared and floated in front of Ling Xin and Ling Mo. Just place a drop of your essence blood on the scroll, Qing instructed. They looked at each other, steeled themselves, and bit their fingertips, letting a bead of crimson essence blood fall onto the golden parchment. Buzz, the familiar system prompt, chimed inside Qing's mind. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully contracting a 4-star Tao companion, Ling Xin. Rewards: Tao companion treasure chest X1, 20,000 yin-yang points, body spirit golden awakening secret, spirit soul, vermilion-eyed ice toad. Congratulations to the host for successfully contracting a 4-star Tao companion, Ling Mao. Rewards: Tao companion treasure chest X1, 20,000 yin-yang points, external spirit bone, dark golden dreadclaw, spirit soul, dark golden dreadclaw bear, 50,000 years. Ding! Tao companion panel updated. Qing opened the Tao companion panel with a thought to check the sisters' details. Age 22, first spirit, body spirit, second silver awakening. Spirit power rank, rank 60. Spirit ring configuration, yellow, purple, purple, black. 90. Innate soul power, 9. Overall star rating. Favorability, 90. Deeply in love. Age, 22. First spirit, body spirit, second silver awakening. Second spirit, spirit eyes. Spirit power rank, rank 60. Spirit ring configuration, yellow, purple, purple, black. Beauty, 90. Innate soul power, 9. Overall star rating, favorability, 90. Deeply in love. The panel showed affection at 90, and the generous rewards, especially the body spirit gold level awakening secret and the external spirit bone, dark dreadclaw, made Qing's heart soar. Even more surprising were the bonus rewards triggered when affection hit the milestone. Ding! Ling Xin's affection has reached 90. Rewards: affection treasure chest A1, heavenly poison saint body, yin-yang creation pill. Ding! Ling Mao's affection has reached 90. Rewards: affection treasure chest 1, 9 revolutions golden body technique, 100,000 year spirit rings 1. Heavenly poison saint body, perfect for Ling Xin. The yin-yang creation pill, wasn't that old Huo's top-tier medicinal pill? And the 9 revolutions golden body technique, an ideal body refining method for a spirit master like Ling Mao, especially paired with the dark golden dreadclaw. Ling Mo's strength would leap forward. And 100,000 year spirit ring, everything the system gave was first rate. The golden light dimmed. Ling Xin and Ling Mo opened their eyes slowly. They felt the changes within themselves and the unbreakable bond with Qing, and tears of joy wavered in their eyes. Husband. Lively Ling Mo was the first to launch herself into Qing's arms, hugging him tight. Shy Ling Xin summoned her courage and leaned against him from the other side, resting her head on his shoulder. Qing wrapped his arms around them both, warmed by their dependence and deep affection. Despite the joking dread he felt for his future kidney life, the happiness in that moment was genuine. The next morning, he dressed quietly and glanced back at the two sisters asleep in each other's arms. They still glowed faintly from dual cultivation. A small smile warmed Qing, though he secretly lit a candle to pray for his embattled kidneys, surrounded as he was by 11 wolves. Stepping into the inn's courtyard, he found Ru, Duanxin, and a few other wives doing morning exercises. They eyed him with playful looks rather than jealousy. Oh, Lord Husband finally up? Must have been hard guiding the new sisters last night, Duanxin teased with a wink. Rose smiled and handed him a cup of warm water. Drink up. You must have used a lot of energy. Restore yourself properly. Qing's face flushed. He drank at once and protested sheepishly. It was nothing, just communicating feelings, really. The women giggled, covering their mouths. They were used to Qing's easygoing manner and knew the Tao companion contract benefited everyone. As long as they held a place in his heart, they didn't mind. Soon Ling Xin and Ling Mao finished washing and came out, faces pink with shyness, but bright with the joy of joining the big family. Ro and the others welcomed them warmly, eagerly exchanging experiences and cultivation tips. In no time, they were no longer teachers' wives, but good sisters. After breakfast, the carriage rolled on toward Sunset Forest. Qing leaned back against the plush cushions with his eyes closed, but his mind was busy receiving the stream of images sent back by the soul clone, tracking Tang Hao thousands of miles away. The vision showed Tang Hao after the competition. He had gone to meet a woman, and then, with his transformed spirit beast wife Ayun at his side, navigated many challenges back to the imposing, oppressive Clear Sky sect headquarters. Tang Hao's face held quiet nervousness and expectation. Ayun moved beside him like a songbird, trying for calm but showing unease in her eyes. Her lower abdomen was clearly rounded. She was pregnant. Sect Master Tang Zhen received his son and this daughter-in-law in the main hall. At first his expression was composed, almost pleased, but during a brief close contact, Tang Zhen's gaze sharpened. His perception, worthy of a level 97 super Douluo, caught something no ordinary human possessed, the aura of 100,000-year spirit beast. His face darkened. He dismissed all the elders and disciples on the pretense of business, leaving only Tang Hao. The heavy doors slammed shut and the hall grew unbearably solemn. Hao heir, Tang Zhen's voice was low and cold, absolute in authority. Tell me truthfully, what is the identity of the girl you brought back? Tang Hao's body trembled for a moment, then he squared his shoulders and met his father's eyes. Father, Ayun isn't human, but she is my wife. She is the love of my life. She carries my child. Heaven and earth can witness my feelings. There is no falsehood. Nonsense. Tang Zhen slammed his hand on the armrest so hard the wood cracked. Disgust and fury flared across his face. Do you know what you're doing? Humans and spirit beasts are natural enemies. This is against the heavens and what the world can accept. Tang Hao stood firm. I don't care about natural enemies. Ayun is kind. She's never harmed anyone. We love each other. What's wrong with that? Tang Zhen barked a harsh laugh, cold as a blade. You're naive. Do you know what a transformed 100,000-year spirit beast means? A ready-made 100,000-year spirit ring, a 100,000-year spirit bone, treasures any titled Douluo would kill for. As the future of the Clear Sky sect, are you so sentimental? He softened his tone to something more persuasive but more cruel. Listen to me. Once she gives birth, then finish her off and take the ring and bone. With a 100,000-year spirit ring, you'd surpass me, surpass even Tang Chen. Our sect's prestige could be restored and maybe even overcome Yin-Yang sect. For the sect's 1,000-year legacy, you must abandon some petty romantic feelings. Impossible. Tang Hao's roar was sudden and fierce like a wounded beast. His eyes blazed red. Father, don't say that. I, Tang Hao, would rather cripple myself than harm Ayun for a spirit ring. She is my life. Tsk, unfilial son. Tang Zhen trembled with anger and shame. Think of the sect. Think of your father. I am old. The Grand Elder and Second Elder won't live forever. The future of Clear Sky sect depends on you and Xiao'er. A 100,000-year spirit ring will be the sect's greatest foundation. You must sacrifice personal feeling for the greater good. Tang Hao's fists cracked together. He fell silent, torn. Then he lifted his head, crimson eyes resolute. Without Ayun's ring, I can still obtain a 100,000-year spirit ring. I will prove it to you. Without sacrificing my beloved, I can still reach the peak. My 9th spirit ring will be a 100,000-year one. He left no room for further argument. Seizing the swaying Ayun waiting by the door, he turned and dashed out of the hall, never looking back, his figure set and tragic. The final frozen image was Tang Zhen's face, ashen and furious, but with a flicker of ruthless calculation. He had not given up the idea of seizing the beast's treasure. Qing opened his eyes and exhaled softly. He felt a grudging respect for Tang Hao's stubbornness and devotion. Reckless and impulsive, Tang Hao was nevertheless sincere. Yet he'd underestimated how far his father would go for the sect. Tang Zhen would never allow a living 100,000-year spirit beast to roam free when that beast was carrying his grandson. The likeliest outcome was forcing Ayun to volunteer her sacrifice. Her fate was likely sealed. Qing filed the intelligence away. For now, he had his own business to mind. Back inside the carriage, Qian Renshe was poring over a thick volume titled Elementary Continental Spirit Beast Encyclopedia. When she met something she didn't understand, she'd look up, wide-eyed, at Qing. Du Guyan sat beside her, playing the dutiful senior sister and explaining things with a smattering of authority, though she sometimes had to guess, which made Qian Renshui giggle and hide a smile. Yu Qing took over the lesson. He explained spirit beast habits, weaknesses, spirit ring traits, and how to choose spirit combinations and abilities. He broke down complex concepts into plain terms and cited examples. Qian Renshui listened intently, nodding. Even Du Guyan learned, clearing up fuzzy notions. The days passed in a warm, fulfilling rhythm. Yu Qing didn't just teach, he also handed out gentle medicinal pills to help cultivate their foundations according to their physical conditions and prepared medicinal dishes to balance their bodies. Qianren's innate potential was consolidating, and the regular group cultivations and one-on-one guidance with his beloved companions remained an unshakable routine. Yu Qing suffered deliciously through it all, exhausted but steadily improving his cultivation and his bonds with his Dao companions. Time flew. 20 days later, the landscape grew familiar, and the air took on the unique scent of sunset forest, a mix of fresh green and a faint miasma. The convoy halted. Yu Qing lifted the carriage curtain and looked out over the vast rolling forest bathed in the golden light of dusk. A relaxed, expectant smile spread across his face. Finally, he breathed. I'm home. 191. Ah Yin is about to give birth. The group arrived at the outskirts of the sunset forest, looking travel-worn. Standing before the familiar trees, everyone's emotions were like an overturned spice jar, complicated and excited. For the 10 people who had taken part in the 7 Great Sects re-election assembly, Aru, Duanxin, Zirui, and the others, this was a true homecoming in glory. They were returning triumphant, bearing the supreme honor of Sect Number 1 under heaven. Each heart swelled with a longing for home and the urge to share their victories with the family they had left behind. The newly joined spirit eagle, Qian Renshui, felt mostly curiosity and nerves. She was about to step into the legendary Yin-Yang sect headquarters, the secret realm that people said could change a person's life, and it might be where she lived for a long time to come. The unfamiliar surroundings and brand new relationships made even this former spirit hall elder uneasy. Qian Renshui's golden eyes drank in everything. She'd heard 1,000 fantastical descriptions from her senior sister Du Guyan, the miraculous spring that gave off both cold and hot air, oddly shaped immortal herbs, the talking ape Ming. But imagination could never match seeing it herself. Clinging to her master Yu Qing's hand, she kept craning her neck to look left and right. Yu Qing's mood was more urgent. He did the math in his head. Ah Yin was a month pregnant before the assembly. We prepared for half a year. The assembly took some time, then the month-long return trip. That means she's over 8 months along, almost full term. A budding father's excitement flooded him. He wanted to be home as soon as possible. Without further delay, he inhaled deeply, let his majestic spirit power surge, and traced a pattern in the air. A short-lived spatial tunnel formed. "Everyone, hold on to me, straight through," he said in a low voice and led them in. In the next instant, the 13 of them appeared like spirits at the entrance to the outer rim of the ice and fire yin-yang well, the sect's core area. The wondrous sight, ice and fire braided together under a drifting mist, calmed the returning group at once. "We're home," someone breathed, and the word echoed. Their sudden arrival immediately drew the attention of the guarding disciples. "Look, the sect leader." "It's the sect leader in person, and the hallmasters. Everyone's back. I heard the sect won number 1 under heaven at the assembly, and he took the grandmaster title. Incredible." "Ha ha ha. The yin-yang sect is the top sect now." Cheers rose like a tide. Old followers and new disciples surged from every direction and pressed around the 13 of them. The looks aimed at Yu Qing and his companions were full of adoration, almost worshipful. The valley entrance instantly became a clamorous, lively scene. A slender figure soon parted the crowd, silver hair flowing, face naturally charming. The fox consort who had stayed behind came forward. "Oh, husband, you finally decided to come back?" she said with a lazy, flirtatious smile. She strode straight to Yu Qing and wrapped him in a soft embrace. Rising on her toes, she drew close to his ear and, in a voice meant only for him, murmured, "It's been months. I missed you so much. Tonight, you're mine." Warm breath at his ear and the amused looks from the other women flushed Yu Qing's cheeks. He coughed awkwardly. Let's talk about this tonight, he whispered. At that moment, Father Z and Father Duan, having heard the news, arrived with Yu Qing's two children, his son Long Yu and his daughter Sandalwood Yu. Daddy, Mommy, the little ones broke free from their grandfathers and scrambled across the ground on short legs. Duan Xin and Zi Rui's faces blossomed with maternal light. They bent, scooped up their children, kissed and fussed over them. Yu Qing exchanged a few pleasantries with his two fathers-in-law, thanking them for handling affairs and caring for the children while he was away. Then, anxious to see Yin, he gave a few brief instructions and walked alone toward the small courtyard where she lived, tucked amidst a ring of blue-silver grass. On the way he passed Xiao Wu, who rode Ming, the Titan giant ape, like a queen patrolling her realm. A group of young disciples and spirit beasts followed, chattering and cheerful. From outside the courtyard fence, Yu Qing saw Yin reclining on a cushioned lounger, her eyes half closed, basking in the warm afternoon sun. Her abdomen was large and rounded, like she was cradling a ripe watermelon, and her face shone with maternal peace and contentment. Yu Qing's heart clenched. Had she not given birth yet? But the fetus's life aura inside her was overwhelmingly strong and vigorous. She was clearly healthy. He relaxed. Yin, he called softly, careful not to startle her. She opened her deep lake blue eyes. When she saw him at the gate, a delighted, trusting smile broke across her face. Qing, you're back! She tried to sit up. Yu Qing was already at her side, supporting her shoulders. Don't move, just lie there, he said, crouching and taking her hand. I heard from Uncle Z that you all did very well. Got the title of sect number 1 under heaven? He asked. Tell me everything. Her eyes lit up like a child's. He smiled and began to tell it all. The repeated fierce fights at the re-election assembly, the verbal duels during the spirit theory debate, taking Qian Renshui as a disciple, and the delicate maneuvers with the spirit hall. He spoke in vivid detail. Yin listened, her expressions changing from tense to amused to amazed. They talked until the sun set and evening clouds rolled in. She stroked her swollen belly, pride and happiness softening her face. Child, she murmured to the baby, did you hear? Your father is a true hero who stands tall between heaven and earth. Yu Qing watched, content. A shimmer of mental force coalesced nearby into the familiar long blue-haired figure of the blue-silver king, Little Blue, who watched over Yin. Little Blue landed with her hands on her hips, her pretty face showing obvious displeasure. She glared at Yu Qing and snorted. Humph, so the imperial consort actually decided to come back. I thought you were going to wait until after the Empress gave birth before you remembered home. Yu Qing knew Little Blue's protective temper and didn't try to argue. He smiled, extended a finger, and condensed a ball of brilliantly pure emerald energy, thick with the power of life, on his fingertip, then tossed it to her. A small token, he said lightly. Accept it, Little Blue. Little Blue's eyes lit at the life energy. Her sour expression vanished and was replaced by a gleeful smile. Like a cat offered a treat, she floated over and playfully tapped his shoulder, her hand passing through him. Oh my, the imperial consort is too kind. If there's anything else you need Little Blue for, just say the word. Yu Qing was still smiling and shaking his head when Yin's smile suddenly froze. Her brow knit sharply. She gave a muffled groan. Her aura went chaotic in an instant. The ordinarily tranquil blue-silver grass that ringed the courtyard shuddered and rustled as if in a sudden windless storm. Yin, what's wrong? Yu Qing's face drained of color. He moved to support her, voice urgent. Little Blue's playful look vanished too. She straightened, alarm replacing amusement, and cried, Oh no, imperial consort, the Empress is about to give birth. Yin, hold on. Yu Qing's face went pale. He crouched beside her and pressed his hands to her shoulders. Pure, majestic power of life flowed into Yin like a warm spring, soothing the chaotic qi that had suddenly become a runaway horse. Empress, steady your mind. Breathe slowly. Little Blue instantaneously condensed into a solid blue light and hovered above Yin's head. With her hands forming seals, she drew on the blue-silver grass within the ice and fire yin-yang well, and wove a soft, luminous shield around Yin, helping to calm her mind and steady her body. Quick, send for the midwife. The Empress is about to give birth. Little Blue shouted into the courtyard, cutting through the panicked cries of the maids. Startled, they scrambled out of the inner rooms and raced away shouting, "Hurry! Call the midwife! Lady Yin is in labor!" News of the sect leader's wife going into labor spread like wildfire through the yin-yang sect compound. Several experienced midwives who had been on standby hurried over with medicine boxes. Seeing Yu Qing and Little Blue working to stabilize Yin, they didn't interrupt. Instead, they set out delivery instruments nervously and took up positions. While maintaining a steady supply of power of life, Yu Qing drew several medicinal pills from system space. He offered Yin a fortune pill to shore up her foundation, an origin returning pill to replenish blood and qi, and a heart-clearing jade dew pill to calm the mind and steady the soul. He helped dissolve them with spirit power. Under the combined aid of his life power, the massive energy of the blue-silver grass, and the top-tier medicines, Yin's pale face slowly regained color. Her furrowed brows loosened, her heaving breaths eased. The pains continued, but she had stabilized. She opened her eyes and looked at Yu Qing with absolute trust. Qing, I'm all right. The child seems eager." Yin managed a weak, determined smile. "I'm here. Don't be afraid," Yu Qing replied, squeezing her hand for reassurance. But then his soul clone, stationed outside to keep watch over Tang Hao, sent a sudden rippling wave of intense soul fluctuation. Yu Qing's brow tightened. He didn't have time to investigate fully. Yin came first. Still, he diverted a sliver of attention and connected to the clone's perception to catch the images it transmitted. The images were chaotic. Tang Hao stood pacing in a rough cave, clutching his wife, Yun, who too was heavy with child and invisible pain. Her water had broken. She was in labor. The timing was almost synchronous with Yin's. Unlike the well-prepared yin-yang sect, Tang Hao's situation was dire. No midwives, no proper shelter, only Tang Hao fumbling to help. Yun's aura wavered dangerously. A tremendous energy, one that smelled of 100,000-year spirit beast, was leaking uncontrollably and shaking the cave. It looked far more perilous than Yin's birth. A flash of surprise touched Yu Qing's mind at the coincidence, but he snapped his focus back to Yin. "Push! Deep breaths, push!" the midwives directed. Yu Qing continued to flood her with life power and feed nourishing medicine, while Little Blue kept the blue-silver grass support steady. Far beyond mortal eyes, inside a boundless rift between dimensions, a calamity no human could fathom was tearing itself apart. This was space-time turbulence, a forbidden place even divinities feared, where violent temporal storms lashed like a million invisible blades, grinding any intruder to shreds. Shrouded in dark red Asura divine force, a battered figure fought against the storm. God King Tang San, once majestic and formidable, now staggered, his golden divine armor in tatters, golden divine blood leaking at the corners of his mouth. His face was paper white, his eyes burned with anger, resentment, and a thread of fear. "God of emotion, ungrateful beast, you colluded with the Golden Dragon King to betray me," Tang San roared, forcing his remaining divine force to the limit. He crossed the sea god trident and the Asura god sword before him, using them to hold back the storm's erosion. But the turbulence was voracious. His divine force drained like water from a broken dam. Cracks spidered across his divine body, threatening disintegration. "This can't go on," Tang San snarled as desperation and ruthlessness flashed through his eyes. He pushed his purple demon eye to pierce the mirage and fixed on a comparatively thin spot in the storm ahead. "I'll risk it." Pouring every bit of his remaining power into the Asura god sword, he unleashed a ripping bloodlight. The blade's aura, capable of severing karma and splitting reincarnations, slashed at the turbulence. The strike tore the storm with a sound like cloth ripping. For a fleeting instant, Tang San's concentrated lifetime of power split a crack in the space-time turbulence. "God of emotion, remember this. When I return, I will make your divine soul perish," he hissed. And with his last strength, he transformed into a streak of light and plunged through the breach. The turbulence retaliated with a vengeance. It clung to him like carrion maggots, grinding the remnants of his divine body inch by inch as he crossed the barrier. At last, his mighty form could not hold. It shattered. Only a slender core of his origin divine soul, holding his memories and consciousness, survived. Like a wick nearly snuffed, it stumbled through the rift and tumbled toward an unfamiliar Douluo Continent timeline that gave off a vaguely familiar aura. Elsewhere in the turbulence, another figure fared no better. Surrounded by a strange spiritual halo of ice and fire was the god of emotion. His divine body lay in ruins. His aura had withered almost to nothing. Yet in his bloodshot eyes glinted a grim satisfaction. He had exacted his revenge and felt, bizarrely, liberated. "Ha ha! Tang-san, you dog! You finally have your day." God of Emotion laughed, a sound equal parts triumph and sorrow. He remembered the humiliations at Love Quest Valley, the hatred of being forced to place a chastity lock on Wutong, the threats to Juzi using Yunhan's life, the arrogance that forced a name change, and the denial of justice for his mother's death. Today, it's settled. The laughter choked into a hoarse torment. Tears of blood streaked his face. Donger, Chewer, if there's a next life, I, God of Emotion, will never let you be framed by his schemes again. At last, the storm ground his divine body to dust. Only a thin sliver of divine origin soul remained, full of regret, attachment, and an obsession with revenge. It pierced the space-time barrier and fell toward the same Douluo timeline, following Tang-san's remnant. Back in the small courtyard, a newborn's cry cut the tension like a bell at dawn. Qing, who had felt the distant wail through his soul clone from Tang Hao's cave, felt his exhaustion and dread dissolve. Babies had been born on both sides. "Congratulations, sect leader. It's a little young master. Both mother and child are safe," the midwife announced, beaming as she handed Qing a swaddled infant. He breathed deep, tamping down the surge of joy. With slightly trembling hands, he took the new life, gazing down with solemn care. The baby had rosy skin and delicate features. His eyes were closed and his mouth moved faintly. When Qing looked closer, the infant opened his eyes, and those eyes were startling. They were clear and sharp, like newborn stars, but behind the clarity there was an awareness no true newborn should possess, a flash of confusion as if from someone who had seen many things, then a quick flood of enormous joy, like someone who had recovered something lost. That complexity belonged to no ordinary infant. As Qing's heart tightened, the thought struck him. This child did not harbor a native soul. He was occupied by a reincarnated consciousness. Could it be Tang-san? "Qing, let me see our child," Yin murmured from the bed. Qing masked his storm of thoughts with a gentle smile and carried the infant to her. "Look, Yin, it's our boy, healthy and handsome." Yin cradled the wrinkled, vigorous little body and glowed with a mother's bliss. She brushed the baby's cheek and whispered, "My child." "You should rest," Qing said softly. "You've just given birth, and your origin chi is drained. I'll prepare nourishing food for you." He kissed her forehead and stepped outside. He immediately reconnected with the soul clone for more information about Tang Hao's son. The clone's images were still hazy, but the key details tightened his pulse. Tang Hao's child was a boy as well. At birth, the clone had registered a brief, intense spiritual fluctuation, far beyond what a newborn should possess. Within that flare, Qing had perceived a hint of the sea god's divine force, the same signature power Tang-san carried after rising to godhood. Then the trace had swiftly muffled, as if hidden deliberately. Two newborns, both showing signs of foreign souls. Qing's brow creased as he walked toward the kitchen, piecing the clues together. Tang Hao's son bore a trace of the sea god's divine force, likely tied to a version of Tang-san who had become a god. His own son carried eyes that had lived through much, a soul of complex awareness. A startling possibility formed in Qing's mind and made his breath catch. Could more than one soul have slipped through the space-time turbulence? Tang Hao's boy might host the later, godly incarnation of Tang-san. His own son might be occupied by the first-generation Tang-san who had just been thrown into the Douluo Continent. 193. Destiny Twins. The astonishing speculation in Qing's heart about the phrase dual Tang-sans hit him like a massive stone thrown into a quiet lake, stirring up ripples he could not yet trace to their source. He had no proof, and no one he could confide in. So he buried the conjecture deep inside, forced his attention back to the present, and focused on the people and tasks before him. If it was a blessing, so be it. If it was a disaster, it could not be avoided. Whoever's soul resided within this child, since the child had been reborn as a Qing's son, he was a Qing's seed. A Qing would guide and control his future. He drew a steadying breath, pushed aside the troubling thoughts, and put a gentle smile back on his face. Carrying the carefully prepared medicinal cuisine, he returned to the delivery room. The room was already full of people and full of warmth. Aru, Duanxin, Zirui, Shui Wuyue, Shui Wuxiang, and several other principal wives clustered around the bed, exchanging childcare tips in a chorus of supportive voices. Sister Ah Yin, you must keep warm after giving birth. Don't catch a chill. Also, the little one may not latch at first. You must be patient. Look at that little nose and mouth. So like Ah Qing, he's going to be a handsome young gentleman. Purple Pearl stood a little apart, staring at the infant in Ah Yin's arms with obvious longing. When will I have one of my own? She murmured. The fox consort leaned over the cradle and playfully poked at the baby's tiny hands and feet, making gentle tsk-tsk noises to draw its attention. A Qing watched the harmonious scene and felt a warm current run through him. He parted the crowd, set the medicinal cuisine on the small round table beside the bed, and carefully helped the still weak Ah Yin sit up. He fed her spoonfuls of the warm restorative, supporting her as she leaned against him. As he fed her, a Qing's gaze kept drifting to his son in the cradle. The baby was much quieter now, eyes closed, breathing even, perfectly posed like a sleeping infant. But a Qing's perception caught something beneath that innocence, a calm restraint that seemed beyond a newborn. It was almost as if the child were deliberately imitating how an infant should behave. That acting only deepened a Qing's suspicions. After the medicinal cuisine, Ah Yin's color improved noticeably. She settled back against the pillow, looked at the baby with a mother's tenderness, then turned to a Qing with expectant eyes. A Qing, it's time to name our child. What do you want to call him? A Qing hesitated, then deflected. Ah Yin, you're the mother. You should decide. Ah Yin thought for a moment, a spark lighting her blue eyes. How about Yu Hao? Hao for vastness. May his heart be as broad as the ocean. And for a nickname, let's call him Little San. It's simple and easy to remember. Hearing those names, a Qing felt his chest skip a beat. Yu Hao, Little San. The coincidence stung. He kept his expression neutral, smiled and nodded. Yu Hao is a grand name. Little San is cute. From now on, he'll be Yu Hao. Through his soul clone, a Qing also watched Tang Hao's household. Unsurprisingly, that child had already been named Tang San. One Tang San, one Yu Hao, two Sans. The tangle of fate felt messy and impossible to unravel. A Qing sighed inwardly. Whatever lay ahead would be more complicated than he had imagined. In the days that followed, a Qing carefully tended to the convalescing Ah Yin and the newborn Yu Hao while beginning to sort through the yin-yang sect's accumulated affairs. Under the capable stewardship of his two fathers-in-law, Father Zi and Father Duan, the sect had developed steadily during his absence. Disciple numbers had climbed past 500, many talented orphans adopted from across the continent, clean foundation, highly moldable. A group of elite women from the Shui family, originally from Tianshui City, had established the Tianshui Hall within the sect. Shui Wuxiang took the role of hall master, with the experienced Sister Shinro as deputy. Though not the largest group numerically, each member was a formidable and attractive spirit master, a striking presence within the sect. During the recent sect re-election assembly, the disciples' cultivation had generally advanced 1 to 2 ranks, proof of Father Zi and Father Duan's careful resource allocation and guidance. A Qing praised their work. Fathers-in-law, you've done well. It was our duty, Father Zi replied modestly, then added a small report. Sect Master, 2 pairs of young disciples have applied for marriage. They're deeply in love and ask to be joined. That's good, a Qing said, interested. The yin-yang sect emphasizes yin-yang balance and Tao companions. Provided their hearts are pure and they are loyal to the sect, we can allow it after strict vetting. We'll grant them basic versions of the dual cultivation treasure codex and the soul power compression method to smooth their future cultivation. Benevolent sect master. Father Zi and Father Duan both smiled. The sect master's generosity would bind the people closer together. With the sect's small affairs in order, a Qing turned his attention back to Tang Hao's family. His soul clone showed Tang Hao sheltering in a secluded valley with a very weak postpartum Ayun and newborn Tang San. Ayun had exhausted herself during childbirth. She struggled to suppress the aura of the 100,000-year spirit beast, and her condition remained unstable. Tang Hao looked exhausted and anxious, guarding his wife and son while staying alert for danger. It seemed the opening of the plot was drawing nearer. After several days of hands-off boss and stay-at-home dad life, Qing found time to resume training his two precious disciples. When he arrived at the training grounds, the sight made him laugh. Qian Renshui, the esteemed young lord of the Spirit Hall, the future angel god, had her sleeves rolled up and feet bare, playing hopscotch in squares drawn on the ground with a massive, fiery 10,000-year spirit beast called the Crimson Flame Spirit Cat. A group of children, including Xiao Wu, Du Guyan, and other sect disciples, cheered them on. "Junior sister Shuer, keep going. Meow meow, jump fast. Shuer, you jumped crooked." Qian Renshui's face was flushed, beads of sweat on her nose. Her movements were a little clumsy, but her smile was genuine. That kind of unrestrained playing with spirit beasts would have been unthinkable in the strict spirit hall. In the half-month since arriving at the Yin-Yang sect, Qian Renshui's prior notions had been overturned. Her grandfather's teaching, that spirit beasts are merely resources for human cultivation, seemed irrelevant here. The high-level beasts were gentle, protective as elders, even playful. The terrifying 100,000-year Titan giant ape behaved like a large house cat around Xiao Wu. Xiao Wu had even pulled Qian Renshui up to ride Erming's broad shoulders while they patrolled the mountain in the valley. The sight of humans and spirit beasts living harmoniously filled her with novelty, confusion, and an inexplicable warmth. Qing called, smiling, "Sure, Yan Yan, stop playing and come here." At his voice, Qian Renshui and Du Guyan halted and bounded over like two joyful fawns, cheeks still flushed. "Master," they chorused. Qing looked at the two talented, lively disciples with a satisfied sense of accomplishment. He already had a clear training plan. Qian Renshui had reached rank 20 in innate soul power, but had not yet obtained any spirit rings. Du Guyan had reached the rank 20 bottleneck and needed her second spirit ring. The immediate goal was to obtain the most suitable spirit rings, and before that, to temper their bodies. Body tempering was crucial, especially for Qian Renshui. An angel spirit might be powerful, but the body was the foundation that carried everything. Without a strong physique, they could not endure higher age spirit rings later. So Qing's teaching became systematic and strict. Mornings were for theory, spirit characteristics, classifications of spirit beasts, principles of spirit abilities, combat techniques, and odd tales from the world of spirit masters, all explained simply yet deeply. His wide knowledge and vivid explanations held the girls' full attention. Afternoons were practical. Qing taught the elementary body forging technique, a body refining method combining breathing, guiding techniques, and specific movements to temper muscles and bones, clear meridians, and solidify the foundation. The girls grimaced at first, but with Qing's encouragement and the help of medicated baths, they persevered. In the evenings, Qing personally prepared their medicated baths and arranged nourishing medicinal cuisine rich in vital energy and origin qi. With the medicinal support, their physiques improved visibly. Half a month passed in this steady routine. Qian Renshui and Du Guyan's foundations were now solid. Their physical strength exceeded that of most spirit masters at the same rank. Qing decided the time had come. After the morning lessons one day, he called them over with a serious expression. "Shuer, Yan Yan, your foundations are well established. It is time to go acquire your first and second spirit rings." At those words, Qian Renshui and Du Guyan's eyes lit up with bright anticipation and excitement. Chapter 194, The Challenge of the Millennium Soul Ring. After a night's rest, just as dawn was breaking, Yu Qing left the ice and fire yin-yang, well in high spirits, and led Qian Renshui and Du Guyan into the sunset forest. After this period of systematic instruction from Yu Qing and the study of the precious ancient texts her grandfather Qian Douluo had given her when she left Spirit Hall, Qian Renshui already had a clear target for her first spirit ring. As they walked, she shared her plan with Yu Qing. "Master, according to the records, the radiant scarab would be perfect for my first ring. It's a rare light attribute insect. Its defense is excellent, and the spirit abilities it grants focus on self-augmentation, attack, defense, speed. It fits the development path of the Seraphim spirit very well." Yu Qing nodded in approval. "Radiant scarab? Good choice. Those beasts are rare, but when you find one, the quality is usually reliable." Yan, who had already picked her own target, pumped a small fist and said excitedly, "Master, I chose the jade-eyed poison toad. Its poison is highly corrosive, perfect for my earth poison dragon spirit. It should give me a powerful poison-type ability." "Good, the goals are clear. Let's go." Qing waved and led the two girls deeper into the forest. The first few days of searching were difficult. They quickly located a jade-eyed poison toad that matched Yan's requirements, but it was only about 800 years old, too weak even for a backup ring. The radiant scarab Rengshui wanted wasn't showing any signs. The Sunset Forest was vast, though, with diverse ecosystems nurturing countless spirit beasts. Using his powerful mental force like a precise radar, Qing adjusted their search direction constantly. On the fifth day, Qing's perception finally locked onto a suitable aura. He guided the two girls to a swampy area thick with humus and mist. Beside a murky puddle sat a toad the size of a millstone, dark green skin covered in warty lumps and jade-green eyes that glinted coldly. It was Yan's target, the jade-eyed poison toad. Its aura showed it was about 1,700 years old. "Good, this age is very suitable," Qing said with a small smile. He signaled for them to hide their auras and approached like a shadow. For a titled Douluo like him, dealing with a 1,000-year spirit beast was easy. In a flash, he cast an invisible spirit binding, and the toad, still basking lazily, was caught before it could react. "Yan, finish it," Qing called. Yan took a deep breath, summoning her earth poison dragon spirit, and stepped forward. Gathering her spirit power, she struck the immobilized beast in one blow. A purple soul ring appeared. 1,700 years is a heavy load for your current physique, Qing warned from the side. "It will be painful, but you must endure. Master will protect you." Yan nodded and sat as instructed to absorb the ring. As Qing had predicted, the process was harsh. The 1,000-year energy crashed against her meridians like a tide. Her face flushed, then drained pale, sweat beading on her forehead. But she had been tempered by Qing's medicinals and body-forging techniques. Her body was far stronger than her peers. Gritting her teeth and refusing to lose, she endured. Several hours later, when the purple ring settled steadily on her, Yan breathed out and shot to her feet, ecstatic. "Ha! Master Xuer! I did it! I'm a level 24 spirit grandmaster!" She danced, eager to show off the yellow and purple rings by her feet. Qian Renshui's golden eyes shone with clear envy as she looked at her senior sister's purple ring. Although Renshui's innate soul power was as high as level 20, she still had no ring. Seeing Yan's success made her even more determined. As she thought, as expected of Master, this ability to help someone absorb a ring beyond their limit was terrifyingly valuable. Qing smiled and ruffled Yan's hair. "Not bad. You didn't embarrass your master. Now that you've become a spirit grandmaster, it's time to get practical combat experience in the great spirit arena." He already planned to follow the proven method he had used with the Ling sisters. After reaching spirit grandmaster, the girls should be tempered by real battles. Gradually, they would hunt for rings themselves to cultivate independence in combat. "Okay, master, don't worry." Yan puffed out her chest, full of confidence. Yan's performance won't be worse than Sister Xin or Sister Mao. Next came the matter of Qian Renshui's ring. Qing spread his mental force like a net, searching the forest for light attribute fluctuations. The radiant scarab, however, was as rare as the records said. He found only 7 that met the criteria. 4 of those 7 had ages exceeding 5,000 years, suicidal to try for a first ring. The only safer one was just over 500 years old, which felt like a waste for someone with Renshui's level 20 innate soul power. Qing withdrew and called Renshui over. He wanted to give her the choice. "Xuer, this is what we've found. The 500-year scarab is relatively safe but limited. The ones over 5,000 are extremely risky. For your first ring, how many years do you want?" Yan blurted out, "Xuer, pick 800. Like my first ring, it's definitely safe." She felt obliged as senior sister to help choose a respectable option. But Qian Renshui lifted her face. Her golden eyes showed no hesitation. With an unexpected firmness, she said, "Master, I want a 1,000-year ring." Yan's head tilted in disbelief. "Wait, Xuer? Isn't that a big leap? From a few hundred to 1,000? It's dangerous." Qing didn't stop her. He smiled appreciatively and encouraged her. You have courage, but, he shifted tone with a guiding edge. Shuer, would you like to be bolder? Renshui blinked, then seemed to understand. Her heart raced, but she kept her resolve. Master, say it. Yu Qing stopped being coy. I found a radiant scarab of about 2,000 years. Do you have the courage to try for it? 2,000 years? Renshui froze, stunned. That was far beyond what most spirit masters dared attempt for even a third ring. She glanced at her fair hands. Thoughts of her master's heaven-defying ring configuration and her own level 20 foundation swept through her mind. A refusal to be mediocre burned inside her. After a moment, she looked up, hesitation gone. I want it. Master, I want to absorb that 2,000-year ring. Very good. Only that is worthy of your seraphim spirit. Yu Qing laughed, genuinely pleased. This is too extreme. Won't it be dangerous? Duguyan stamped her foot anxiously, panic written all over her face. Don't worry. Yu Qing soothed her and rubbed her hair. With Master here, your junior sister will be safe. Believe in Master and in Shuer's potential. Seeing Yu Qing's confidence and Renshui's resolve, Duguyan could only suppress her worry and curiosity. She wanted to see how her junior sister would pull off such a feat. They soon found their target in a sunny forest clearing dotted with glowing plants. A radiant scarab with a body like cast white gold, its shell shimmering with a holy luster, the size of a small calf, calmly feeding on luminous moss. Yu Qing subdued it with the same swift method. Before Renshui began, a golden lotus leaf flashed into existence in Yu Qing's palm, the instant version of his sixth soul skill, Unbreakable Golden Lotus Leaf, possessing powerful, immediate defense and physique augmentation. Take this, Shuer. He handed the lotus leaf to her. She swallowed it without hesitation. It melted, and a warm current surged through her. She felt her skin covered by an invisible, tough armor. Her blood roared, muscles and bones filled with explosive strength. Her power multiplied more than fivefold, and a faint golden halo shimmered across her skin. The surge of strength filled her with confidence. She walked to the bound radiant scarab, summoned her divine seraphim spirit, and delivered the killing blow. A dazzling, bright purple spirit ring fell from the corpse, the deep purple marking the majestic energy of its 2,000 years of cultivation. Renshui sat cross-legged and began the absorption with her will. The process was far longer and more punishing than Duguyan's. Even with the golden lotus leaf's augmentation and Yu Qing maintaining a life barrier to protect her heart, the 2,000-year energy battered her like a storm. Her face tightened, sweat soaked her clothes, and her body trembled at intervals. Still, her mind remained clear. Relying on the seraphim spirit's strong foundation and her own extraordinary perseverance, she guided and refined the massive energy. From midday to sunset and into the star-scattered night, the struggle continued. When the campfire nearby crackled late, the bright purple spirit ring at last stabilized and gently pulsed around her. Success. Shuer, you're amazing. Duguyan, who had been waiting in nail-biting anxiety, rushed forward first. Her face flushed with excitement, even more so than when she got her own ring. She grabbed Renshui's hand and rattled questions out in a breath. A 2,000-year ring! What does it feel like? What's the spirit ability? Is it powerful? Qian Renshui slowly opened her eyes. Her golden gaze was deeper and brighter than before. Feeling the surging power within her and a closer bond to her spirit, she wore a tired but radiant smile of accomplishment. Chapter 195. A holy angel spreads its wings for the first time, and two dragons dance together. Startling hour. My first spirit ability is called Sacred Angel's Ring. Qian Renshui's clear voice rang out in the silent forest, threaded with excitement and pride. It's a buff-type spirit ability that can be used on myself or on teammates. She described the new ability in detail. If used only on myself, it increases all my attributes, strength, speed, defense, spirit power, and so on, by 60%. It also raises the power of all my spirit abilities by 30%. 60%? And it boosts spirit ability power? Duguyan's eyes widened so far, her mouth practically formed an O. She froze as if struck by lightning. Qian Renshui smiled and continued. That's not all. If I use it on multiple people, the effect is distributed. For each additional target, the attribute boost is halved. So if 2 people are buffed, each gets 30%. 3 people get 20% each. It can buff up to 6 people at once. Most importantly, the effect scales with my spirit power rank. Every time I increase my spirit power by 1 rank, the maximum attribute boost increases by 6% and the spirit ability power boost increases by 2%. A growth-type spirit ability? It gets stronger with rank? Duguyan sank to the ground, clutching her head as if her world had tilted. Ah, little sister Shui, what kind of god-tier spirit ability is this? Are you even going to let us ordinary spirit masters live? This is bullying. Qian Renshui couldn't keep from covering her mouth and laughing at the overblown reaction of her senior sister. A cunning light flashed in her golden eyes. Naturally, she was thrilled. This was an immensely powerful ability. Yu Qing stood by with a satisfied smile and patted Duguyan on the shoulder. All right, Yan Yan, stop crying. Shui'er's spirit is the divine rank spirit, the Seraphim. Her starting point is far beyond ordinary people. You have your own advantages too. Work hard and your future won't necessarily be worse. He glanced at Qian Renshui and thought to himself, tsk tsk. When Shui'er becomes a 9-ring titled Douluo one day, her Sacred Angel's Ring group buff could make a team of ordinary spirit masters strong enough to fight a titled Douluo. The famed 7-treasure glazed tile pagoda, supposedly the continent's #1 support spirit, won't even be fit to clean her shoes. The spirit hunting trip had been a complete success. Although Qian Renshui's innate soul power was rank 20, and she technically could obtain a 2nd spirit ring now, Yu Qing decided not to rush. He wanted the age of her 2nd spirit ring to be maximized, targeting at least 5,000 years. Back at the sect, he planned to have her refine a piece of 10,000-year whale resin to further strengthen her physique and meridian toughness before finding the most suitable 2nd spirit ring. Let's go. Time to head home. Yu Qing reached out his hands. Qian Renshui and Duguyan took them, one on each side. A purple light flashed beneath Yu Qing's feet as he activated his self-created spirit ability, Star Flash. The 3 figures blurred as if melting into starlight, then vanished. In the blink of an eye, the scenery shifted. A familiar air, faintly medicinal and rich with spiritual qi, greeted them. They had returned to the entrance of the ice and fire yin-yang well. Wow, Master, that was so convenient, faster than flying, Duguyan shouted, breathless with excitement, envious of her master's instantaneous ability. Qian Renshui said nothing, but her eyes shone. Just as they entered the valley, a sudden change hit. Boom! A rumble that seemed to come from deep underground echoed through the valley. At the center of the ice and fire yin-yang, at the yang spring eye symbolizing the origin of extreme heat, a pillar of platinum gold flame erupted like a volcano. It shot straight into the clouds, reflecting half the sky in molten light. The valley temperature shot upward. A majestic dragon pressure that made souls tremble swept through on scorching airwaves. Roar! A thunderous dragon roar shook the heavens and earth. From the boiling yang spring, a colossal creature launched into the sky. A giant dragon cloaked in platinum gold scales, wreathed in pure sacred flames. Its body was both elegant and powerful, its wings spreading wide enough to blot out the sun. Each scale looked like cast platinum, shining and radiating heat. Circling its body were 8 spirit rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple, 2 black, and 2 red. The 2 vivid red rings blazed like blood-colored suns, searing into every eye. 8 rings. A spirit Douluo. My god, 200,000-year spirit rings. Madame Xin broke through. This dragon pressure, it's terrifying. Cult members in the valley gazed up at the sacred dragon with reverence and alarm, shouting in surprise. But the shock wasn't over. The 7th spirit ring around the dragon flared, revealing a golden pattern. Buzz! A crimson stream of light shot from the 7th ring, expanding and solidifying midair. In an instant, another giant dragon took form. Slightly smaller, it was sheathed in crystal-clear ruby scales and surrounded by even hotter deep red flames that seemed to melt the very air. Its shape resembled the platinum sacred fire dragon by about 70%, but it was more agile and exuded brutal force. The 2 dragons appeared together, the platinum sacred fire dragon majestic and holy, the ruby fire dragon fierce and burning, dancing and circling one another in the sky. Their combined roars and pressure, mixed with the aura of 100,000-year spirit rings, swept the valley like a tidal wave. Some cult members with lower cultivation felt their legs weaken, falling to their knees in worship. Sister Shin absorbed a 100,000-year fire attribute spirit ring this time. She gained a lot, a gentle voice remarked. Aru drifted into the air, her clothes fluttering like a fairy under moonlight, pink eyes full of admiration for the twin dragons. Zirui stepped through the air beside Aru, emotion and pride softening her voice. I didn't expect the little girl who used to have lower spirit power than me to catch up, and now she has two 200,000-year spirit rings. Her strength could rival experts who have just entered the titled Douluo realm. As her older sister, I feel pressured. Despite the words, a pleased smile shone on her face. On the ground, Shui Wuyue gripped her sister, Shui Wuxiang's arm, and stared at the red spirit rings with envy. Sister, I want a 100,000-year spirit ring too. It's so cool. Shui Wuxiang patted her hand and advised gently, don't be too ambitious. Didn't husband say? To withstand the energy of a 100,000-year ring, physique is key. Practice the Thousand Refinements Method to minor achievement first and build a solid foundation. Across the courtyard, Purple Pearl and Feng Lingyan stood together. The Pirate Queen's competitive spirit flared at the sight of the two red rings. She clenched her fists and whispered to Feng Lingyan, Sister Lingyan, did you see that? I want one too. My 8th ring must be a 100,000-year one. Feng Lingyan nodded steadily, eyes alight with resolve. Let's work for it together. Fox Consort and Ah Yin were far calmer. Fox Consort lounged against a stone pillar, watching the spectacle with a languid, seductive smile. Ah Yin stood quietly holding a child, a gentle smile on her face. As a spirit beast sovereign, she didn't crave 100,000-year spirit rings the way human spirit masters did. After a few more deep exchanges with her husband, the ages of her rings might naturally increase. In the valley, 10,000-year spirit beasts from the Hall of 10,000 Beasts lay prostrate under the twin dragons' pressure and the aura of a 100,000-year ring, too terrified even to lift their heads. Only the thick-skinned, powerful Titan giant ape Erming managed to remain standing by sheer force. Among everyone present, the one most shaken, whose small heart churned with confusion and awe, was the infant cradled in his mother's arms, Yu Hao, the reborn god of emotion. Since his consciousness awakened, the god of emotion had been gathering clues to determine where and when he'd been reborn. From casual chatter among ants and his mother, Ah Yin, he pieced together a staggering truth. This place was the Douluo Continent 20,000 years in the past, the era before Tang San, the man he loathed, and his biological mother here was Ah Yin, the blue-silver emperor, the same woman who, in original history, was Tang San's mother. The revelation nearly sent his soul flying from his body. I'm Tang San? What cosmic joke is this? His hatred for Tang San was deep. Becoming him felt worse than death. But as days passed, the god of emotion found things weren't so simple. First, the man called Yu Qing, his putative father, didn't exist in the original history. He was a huge variable. From remarks by his mother and aunts, this father had risen from humble origins, innate soul power rank 3, with a trash spirit green leaf, yet ascended to titled Douluo through sheer effort and a suspected heaven-defying opportunity, founding a vast power. It was astonishing. Second, the family's atmosphere was unusually warm. Ah Yin was cherished and protected, avoiding the tragic fate she'd suffered in history. The aunts got along harmoniously, save for minor jealousies. This kind of loving family was foreign to someone who had been an orphan in his previous life. It warmed his heart, thawing some of the hatred frozen inside him. Today's scene, however, overturned everything he thought he knew. Aunt Duanshin had just become an 8-ring spirit Douluo, 200,000-year spirit rings. Such a configuration, even 10,000 years later, would be among the very top, rivaling only limit Douluo-level experts. And what had she just done? The ruby dragon emerging from the 7th spirit ring. Was that a spirit soul? A huge wave crashed through the god of emotion's heart. The soul spirit method? How could that be possible? That was a secret method he had devised later with teacher Electrolux, combining necromancy and contracts. How could it already exist 20,000 years earlier? Who exactly was this Yu Qing, and how could he master the soul spirit method? I supposedly created 10,000 years later. Too much information and too many contradictions overloaded the reborn god of emotion's young mind. He stared with dark, round eyes at the majestic twin dragons, his small head full of towering questions. 196. Celebration and Retreat. Under the astonished gazes of the crowd, the majestic platinum flame dragon hanging in the sky shimmered and began to shrink. Its massive body contracted rapidly until it became Duanxin's slender, graceful form, landing lightly on the ground. The ruby-scaled fire dragon that had danced with her shrank at the same time, turning into a small arm-length dragon that was still strikingly handsome. It coiled around Duanxin's shoulder and nuzzled her cheek. Congratulations, Sister Xin. You absorbed a 100,000-year spirit ring and advanced to Spirit Douluo. Aru, Ziruyi, and the other sisters crowded around, their faces shining with genuine joy. Duanxin stroked the Ember Dragon's small head gratefully. I couldn't have done it without the Ember Dragon. If it hadn't helped absorb the violent backlash from that explosive flame Saint Dragon ring at the last moment, I don't think I could have survived the recoil. The Ember Dragon flicked its tail bashfully and spoke in human speech, its tone modest. Master, you flatter me. I only happened to take in some of the excess energy leaking from the ring. But the excited light in its dragon eyes betrayed the truth. By absorbing that pure chunk of the 100,000-year ring's origin energy, its own age had leapt over the 100,000-year mark in one go. It was now approaching 150,000 years old, and its strength had grown considerably. Purple Pearl, ever impatient, pushed to the front. Sister Xin, what level are you now? How many levels did you jump? Duanxin felt the surge of spirit power inside her and smiled. I jumped directly to level 86. Hiss! Feng Lingyan and Ling Yuan gasped in unison. Feng Lingyan breathed, 100,000-year ring. Its effect is terrifying. It can actually push a Spirit Douluo up 6 levels at once. Ling Yuan nodded. Having spent many years in the Spirit Hall, she knew how hard it was to gain even a single level at the Spirit Douluo stage. The effect of a 100,000-year ring was nothing short of phenomenal. Yu Qing came forward with a faint smile and congratulated her sincerely. Shiner, congratulations on officially entering the Spirit Douluo realm. At this rate, it won't be long before Yin-Yang sect has another top-tier titled Douluo. Duanxin's eyes lit up at the sound of her husband's voice. She darted over, slipped an arm through his, and pressed her proud form against him. It's all thanks to you, husband, and the sisters' full support. Thank you. She planted a quick kiss on his cheek, leaving a faint lip print which earned a round of warm laughter from the other sisters. Purple Pearl looked on enviously, then hurried to Yu Qing's other side and grabbed his arm, acting spoiled in a syrupy voice. Husband, you can't favor one over the other. Sister Xin has a 100,000-year spirit ring. I want one too. My 8th spirit ring has to be a 100,000-year one, okay? Sandwiched between his two wives, Yu Qing felt equal parts amusement and pleasure. He reached over and gently pinched Purple Pearl's nose. All right. I've already prepared something for you. It's a surprise. He paused, letting her anticipation build. But it's not an ordinary 100,000-year spirit ring. It's a complete 100,000-year spirit soul. A spirit soul has its own consciousness and the right of choice. Whether it'll accept you and sign a contract willingly depends on your own sincerity and ability. He was referring to the 100,000-year deep-sea demon whale spirit soul he'd obtained from the System Mall for Purple Pearl. The Leviathan of the Endless Depths had attributes highly compatible with Purple Pearl's spirit. If the contract succeeded, its benefits would far exceed those of a common 100,000-year spirit ring. Really? Yay! I'll have my own spirit soul. A 100,000-year one. Purple Pearl jumped up like a child with a new toy, hugging Yu Qing's neck. She had long envied Duanxin's Ember Dragon and Ziruyi's cloud-shrouding Flower Emperor Spirit Soul. Now it might finally be her turn. Nearby, the infant Yu Hao, the god of emotion, nestled in Ah Yin's arms, heard every word. Although the little body couldn't move, a storm of realization surged through him. As he thought, the source of the soul spirit method is indeed this cheap father. Yu Hao's heart raced. Yu Qing not only knew about spirit souls, but could prepare a 100,000-year spirit soul in advance. That was knowledge and means that shouldn't exist in this era. Had Yu Qing come from a later generation, like him, or did he possess some legacy that transcended time? The discovery filled the god of emotion with an unprecedented curiosity about Yu Qing's identity. Duanxin's promotion was a major event for the Yin-Yang sect, and that evening they held a grand celebration banquet. The proudest, happiest person at the table was Duanxin's father, Father Duan. Usually stern, the middle-aged man was tonight all smiles, clutching his wine cup and grabbing anyone who passed by to point at his daughter surrounded by admirers. "Look, that's my daughter! My daughter, only 25 and already a spirit Douluo, level 86. See those two red lights on her? Those are 100,000-year spirit rings. 2 of them. Ha ha!" Father Duan's gloating immediately drew jeers from a familiar group led by Father Z. "All right, you old Duan, don't get cocky. It's just that you had a good daughter. Come on, if you're a man, back it up with drinking. We'll drown him. We'll make him face his daughter covered in paint tomorrow." Father Z and several hallmasters launched into a relentless drinking attack on Father Duan. Though he could hold his liquor, the onslaught was too much. Before the banquet ended, he was snoring over the table, mumbling, "My daughter, Spirit Douluo, 100,000 years." Several mischievous friends produced ink and brushes and drew a big turtle and cat whiskers on his face while he slept, turning him into a walking caricature. The sight sent everyone into peals of laughter and pushed the celebration to a raucous high. When the banquet wound down and calm returned, Yu Qing settled the sect's affairs and made a decision. That morning, he had gathered his wives and said calmly, "Shiner has broken through successfully, and there are no major matters in the sect right now. I plan to enter seclusion for a while to assimilate my 3rd spirit ring." He was referring to the 3rd ring for his 2nd spirit, Black Star Sinking Abyss. In the depths of the sea, he had hunted 10 evil orcas, including the evil spirit Orca King, and obtained their spirit rings. Busy with the 7 great sects' re-election assembly, the spirit theory debate, and taking Qianren Shui as a disciple, he never had time to synthesize those rings with the synthesizer, so he hadn't absorbed the 3rd ring yet. Now that things had calmed, it was the right moment to retreat and improve. Aru, the first madam, nodded and soothed him. "You can seclude yourself without worry. With us sisters looking after the sect, nothing will go wrong." Yu Qing trusted his wives implicitly. He added, "One more thing. Shuer has refined the 10,000-year whale resin I gave her. Her physical foundation has been further strengthened. As for finding her 2nd spirit ring, I'll need you all to put more effort into that." Duanxin puffed out her chest confidently. "Don't worry, husband. Leave it to me. I'll find the most suitable, highest-age 2nd spirit ring for Shuer." With everything arranged, Yu Qing wasted no time. He walked steadily to the deepest chamber of the ice and fire yin-yang, where the energy was densest and the surroundings most still. Entering the spring eye, he plunged into the water and returned to the secluded space he had prepared long ago. He closed his eyes and let his consciousness sink into the sea of consciousness, beginning his retreat. 197. Synthesized, an 890,000-year-old evil spirit soul ring. After sinking into his sea of consciousness, Yu Qing's mind stirred. Open system space. A private virtual space unfolded within his consciousness, visible only to him. His gaze swept over the dazzling array of items and settled on a strangely shaped device, the synthesizer of all things. 10 spirit rings, throbbing with energy and deep color, rose from a corner of the system space and hovered beside the synthesizer. These were the rings he had won in the ocean depths, taken from 10 evil orcas, among them the 100,000-year evil spirit Orca King. Their ages were impressive, 3 at 90,000 years, 3 at 80,000, 1 at 70,000, 1 at 60,000, 1 at 50,000, and the king's blood-red 100,000-year ring. In the hands of a twin spirit genius, this set could cultivate a top-tier titled Douluo with an 8 black, 1 red configuration. Yu Qing's eyes drifted to a corner of the interface, where a staggering number glowed. Yin-Yang points, 7,457,000. "I've gathered 7.5 million points without even noticing," he murmured, a faint smile touching his lips. Those points had come from his constant cultivation and the countless yin-yang harmonizations with his various wives over the past year, each point a little testament to his persistence and other labors. He steeled himself and selected 3 spirit rings of relatively lower age, a 60,000-year, a 70,000-year, and a 50,000-year ring, and fed them into the black maw at the top of the synthesizer of all things. Synthesizer, activate. A golden payment prompt flashed on the synthesizer's blue crystal screen. The machine began to hum. White, yellow, purple, and black lights swirled at the entrance and coalesced into a heart-stopping red. The numbers on the screen pulsed rapidly, leaping upward like a heartbeat. 100,000, 150,000, 200,000, 250,000. The figure finally settled at 250,000 years. A blood-red spirit ring edged with 2 golden patterns was spat from the exit. Only 250,000 years? My luck's not great this time, Qing said with a shrug, though he accepted the result. Synthesis was random. He tossed the 3 80,000-year evil orca spirit rings into the synthesizer without hesitation. This time, the number locked at 280,000 years. Better. Riding the momentum, he threw in the 3 90,000-year rings. The synthesizer's hum deepened. Lights flowed. Numbers climbed like a stampede. 300,000, 320,000, 350,000, finally settling at 350,000 years. Qing's eyes brightened. Luck had favored him. Now 4 powerful spirit rings hovered before him. The 250,000-year, the 280,000-year, the 350,000-year, and the original 100,000-year evil spirit orca Qing ring. Their blood-red glow stained the surrounding spiritual qi with a palpable killing intent. Qing inhaled deeply, his gaze sharpening as if he could peer into the rings themselves and touch the power inside. Then, let the final synthesis begin, he whispered, and sent the 4 rings into the synthesizer. 320 yang points. The machine's hum swelled to a grave, primal tone. The observation sphere at its center turned a blinding blood red and hinted at gold. The blue crystal screen's numbers leapt in an unprecedented frenzy. 500,000, 650,000, 800,000, 890,000. The display froze at a number that made Qing's chest tighten. 890,000 years. A dull, ancient roar seemed to emanate from the synthesizer as it expelled a golden-red pillar of light. Inside the pillar, a spirit ring unlike any he had seen materialized. Its main body gleamed a noble, incomparable gold, the color of limit and age, while dark red veins writhed across its surface like living things, giving off a fiendish, utterly wicked aura. The moment the ring fully formed, a terrifying pressure radiated outward, a violent, murderous, all-consuming evil qi, the hallmark of the evil orca clan. An almost 900,000-year spirit ring? Qing breathed. The ring's majesty struck him even through the system's display. Firm and resolute, he reached out and touched the golden red band. The invisible protective membrane shattered at his fingertips. A torrent of pure, violent, evil energy, like a primeval beast breaking a dam, surged into him. Humph! Qing braced himself. His dual soul cores spun furiously, 2 massive whirlpools, scrambling to absorb and temper the onslaught. He forced the star meditation scripture into operation and pushed his body refining methods, the 1000 refinements method and the 9 revolutions golden body art, to their limits. Every inch of muscle, bone, and meridian strained to endure this inhuman impact. It was a test of will and flesh. The 890,000-year ring's energy hammered him like innumerable giant mallets. Skin split, muscle fibers tore, bones groaned. Blood seeped from his pores, congealing into thick, dark scabs across his body. Yet his will did not break. Each time his body approached collapse, the majestic power of life within him surged, guided by his dual soul cores. The restorative effects of his body arts rewove and reforged the damaged tissues. Breaking, repairing, over and over, his body underwent a brutal cycle of destruction and rebirth, a kind of painful nirvana. Days bled into one another. 1 day, 3 days, 10 days. Qing sat like a monk in intense meditation, oblivious to all else. Only his second spirit, Black Star Sinking Abyss, which had automatically manifested before him, showed visible change. The blade's deep black darkened further, as if it could swallow light itself. Embedded in its hilt, an eye condensed from purple lightning now pulsed with a supreme, malevolent aura. Seas of blood seemed to churn within its pupil. The spirit's texture had evolved from cold, profound iron into a devouring dark abyss. Half a month later, when the scabs on Qing's body had hardened into armor-like layers and he seemed almost statue-like, the golden red ring's violent outflow finally subsided. With a hum, the two orange glowing rings from the Thousand Junant Emperors on the black star sinking abyss spirit surfaced first, followed by the terrifying 890,000-year ring. It descended and settled into the position of the third spirit ring on the spirit. The moment the ring seated, Qing's closed eyes snapped open. A vast, incomparable surge of spirit power exploded from him like a sleeping dragon waking. A solid black pillar of light laced with destructive purple lightning shot skyward, piercing through clouds. Space warped and tore where the pillar passed, drawing in star power from the heavens. Thousands of silver motes of light swirled together and poured toward him like rivers into the sea. His former level 97 spirit power bottleneck tore apart as if it were paper. He shot up to level 98, and his spirit power continued to climb. He stabilized at 10% into level 98 almost instantly. Qing rose slowly. The scabs fell away with a rustle, revealing skin as lustrous as newborn silk, but now brimming with explosive potential. He felt the new power flooding him like a river and the reborn aura of evil qi and annihilation from the black star sinking abyss. A satisfied curve touched the corner of his mouth. 198, emerging from quarantine, shock and turmoil. Qing began to study carefully the two brand-new spirit abilities granted by the 890,000-year spirit ring. The first ability was called Evil Spirit Orca Destruction Burst. It was a pure energy burst technique. When activated, an extremely compressed dark red energy orb, infused with the deep-sea demon whale king's destructive origin power, condensed on the blade of the black star sunken abyss. Once thrown, the orb instantly expanded and detonated, unleashing a devastating energy storm over a wide area. It had tremendous physical destructive force and energy erosion effects, enough to shatter the defenses of experts of equal rank in an instant. A very practical area of effect clearing and fortress breaking move, Qing said, nodding with approval. The skill would be invaluable in battle. His expression darkened as he turned to the second ability. Evil Malevolence Floating Life Slay was a very unusual and dangerous technique. It did not fire a direct energy attack. Instead, it invoked three extreme negative auras contained in the ring: Supreme Evil, Malevolence, and Slaughter, and formed an invisible domain field that eroded souls and warped minds. Centered on the caster, within 100 Zhang radius, every living being would suffer continuous spiritual corrosion. Those with weak wills could instantly descend into madness, suffer hallucinations, or even turn on one another. Worse, the caster had to endure the backlash of those same auras. A single mistake could let the corruption eat away at their mind and turn them into a rampaging killer. Indiscriminate attacks, erosion through negative emotions, and severe backlash, Qing muttered, rubbing his chin. This is a double-edged sword, more like a demonic blade. Unless I'm desperate or facing an enemy I absolutely cannot reason with, I'd better avoid using Evil Malevolence Floating Life Slay. He had no desire to become an irrational monster. After cataloging the new abilities, Qing probed the changes in his spirit power. A wry, helpless smile pulled at his mouth. Good grief, the total spirit power has doubled again. He looked inward at the vast, nebula-like energy in his dantian. Two yin-yang soul cores rotated slowly at the center, drawing in massive quantities of energy. He felt both joy and frustration. Having focused so heavily on foundation and spirit power compression, plus the enhancement from dual soul cores and the outrageous quality of his three current spirit rings, each level now demanded many times, sometimes 10 times, the spirit power of a spirit master at the same rank. The jump from early 98 to level 99 would likely require as much spirit power as 10 ordinary level 98 spirit masters needed to reach 99. The prospect was daunting. Sigh. Leveling up keeps getting more competitive, he sighed, but his eyes hardened. Still, I chose this path, no turning back. Thankfully, I have 6 empty spirit ring slots left for the second spirit. Each high-age ring will give a huge boost to spirit power. And there's also the system's dual cultivation function and the dual cultivation treasure codex. As long as my kidneys can hold out, the spirit power will come. Thinking of dual cultivation made Yu Qing rub his still aching kidneys. The seclusion to absorb the spirit ring had placed an enormous load on his body and spirit. While his strength had soared, he did need the tender comfort and energetic replenishment from his wives to restore his origin qi. Aside from the improvements to his spirit abilities and spirit power, there was an unexpected gain. His external spirit bone, the starry 8 spider lances, had evolved under the dual tempering of the ring's vast, pure evil energy and the invoked star power. The lances were now dark gold, their tips glittering with pinpricks of starlight. Intricate, profound silver patterns covered the shafts. Their quality had risen to that of 100,000-year spirit bone. Even more remarkably, the evolved 8 spider lances had developed a resonance and energetic connection with Yu Qing's fused head, arm, and leg spirit bones. Those bones had taken on a faint sheen of starlight as well. Excellent, Yu Qing beamed. More reservoirs to store star power. When I use self-created, high-consumption abilities like Sunken Abyss Star Extinguishing Slash or burst techniques like the Star Burning Battle Method, my endurance will be much improved. I can use my ultimate moves more often or prolong secret methods' durations. It was a tangible boost to his combat potential. He fetched 20 soft white pigeon egg-shaped crystals from system space, spirit-sourced treasures he had hoarded for a long time, and planned to use them later to consolidate his foundation. After organizing his status, Yu Qing left the core of the seclusion, where energy remained violent but contained. In the courtyard outside the sect leader's bedchamber, his wives, having already sensed his emergence, immediately swarmed around him. "Husband! A Qing! You're finally out!" Their voices and the sweet scent of perfume filled the air. Aru, Duanshin, Ziruyi, Shuaiwuyue, Shuaiwuxiang, Purple Pearl, Ling Xin, Ling Mo, Ling Yuan, Fox Consort, and Yin, 10 beautiful women, each different but all stunning, clustered around him, faces alight with concern and joy. Yu Qing opened his arms and pulled Aru and Duanshin, the closest, into a warm embrace. Feeling their softness calmed him. "Yes, I'm back. The seclusion was fruitful," he said, briefly sharing that he had absorbed an 890,000-year spirit ring, risen to level 98, and gained 2 strong spirit abilities, omitting the dangerous detail about evil malevolence floating life slay. "Wow, an 890,000-year spirit ring. Husband, you're incredible!" Duanshin cried, eyes sparkling with admiration as she clung to his arm. "My 100,000-year ring is nothing compared to yours." Aru leaned on his shoulder, pride flashing in her pink eyes. "Level 98. I'll have to push harder and get to 97 as soon as possible. I can't let you pull ahead." Zirui laughed softly, full of sincere praise. "You always pull miracles out of thin air. An 800,000-plus-year ring. In the history of the Spirit Master world, that has to be unique." Shui Wuyue and Purple Pearl huddled and whispered, casting longing glances at Yu Qing and Duanshin as they discussed plans for their own future spirit rings. Ling Yuan, newly arrived, looked as if her worldview had been shattered. She stood there muttering, "God trial, an 800,000-plus-year ring. Level 98? Can a human really reach that?" The Spirit Hall's teachings suddenly seemed like the limited view of a frog in a well. Fox Consort and Yin remained calm. Fox Consort was used to Yu Qing's prodigiousness, and as a spirit beast, Yin cared less about ring ages than humans did. They simply enjoyed the family reunion. But the one most affected by the news was the infant in Yin's arms, Yu Hao, Huo Yu Hao. God trial? With the talent he'd seen, it made sense Yu Qing would attract divine attention. But 800,000 years? His little heart raced. Were there other vicious beasts nearing 1,000,000 years of cultivation in this era? The deep-sea demon whale king? The evil-eyed tyrant dominator? Nothing fit, but his father's aura did carry that orca-like malevolence. Where had this ring come from? The mysteries around his odd father kept growing, and now far exceeded the knowledge of this reborn god king. Yu Qing lingered with his wives, luxuriating in the rare warmth. When the sun began to sink, he remembered his 2 precious disciples. In the children's cultivation area, he found Qian Renshui and Du Guyan sparring from a distance. After checking their conditions, he nodded in satisfaction. Qian Renshui's progress had been remarkable. During Yu Qing's seclusion, Mistress Duanshin had taken her into the Sunset Forest to hunt a rare 5 in 500-year light attribute spirit beast. the holy light unicorn. After absorbing its ring, Qian Renshui's spirit power jumped to level 29. She then took the ring ascension pill Yu Qing had gifted her, and her second ring leapt to 6,000 years, the pill's medicinal power releasing a bottleneck and pushing her spirit power past level 30. With just one suitable third ring, she would become a spirit elder. Her speed of cultivation would make any so-called genius pale. Duguyan had been spurred on by her junior sister's frightening progress. She had thrown herself into desperate cultivation, and with the solid foundation Yu Qing had prepared and the sect's resources, she had advanced to level 25 in just over a month. Yu Qing was very pleased. Not bad, very good, he praised them. Shuer has a stable foundation and is progressing quickly. Yan works hard and is persistent. You two are your master's pride. Both girls beamed. Qian Renshui bowed politely. Thank you for the praise, master. I will continue to work hard. Duguyan, ever lively, bounded over and hugged his arm, shaking it. Master, Yan worked so hard. Is there a reward? Yu Qing laughed and produced a jade bottle from his storage spirit tool. He poured out a dragon's eye-sized medicinal pill that steamed faintly with an odd fragrance, a ring ascension pill. Here, your reward. Keep it up. There will be more in the future. A ring ascension pill. Thank you, master. You're the best. Duguyan's face flushed with excitement. She stared at the precious pill, then up at her master's indulgent smile. On impulse, she stood on tiptoe and planted a forceful kiss on his cheek. Yu Qing froze for a heartbeat, then laughed and ruffled her hair. Silly girl. At that warm moment, a voice full of shock, disbelief, and a hint of sour outrage rang out from the valley entrance. Yan, what are you doing? Yu Qing and his two disciples turned to see Dugubo, travel-worn and standing at the entrance, holding Ningfengya's hand. He stared at the scene with an expression that mixed stunned disbelief and paternal heartbreak. One look said plainly that his precious girl had taken the initiative with another man. Beside him, gentle and composed Ningfengya took in the sight of Duguyan clinging to Yu Qing's arm and showed a complex, difficult-to-read expression. The warmth in the air froze into awkward silence. Chapter 199, On the Eve of the Storm. When Yu Qing blurted, "Old poison, it's not what you think. Listen to me." Dugubo's face went even darker. His eyes screamed that he wouldn't believe a word even if his life depended on it. He stared at the half-wiped lipstick mark on Yu Qing's cheek, remembered his granddaughter's shameless display of affection only moments ago, and factored in Yu Qing's record. Those twin disciples Ling Xin and Ling Mo were already part of his household. How could he not jump to conclusions? Madman Ye! Dugubo ground his teeth, forcing the words through them. I'm warning you, Yan is still a child. If you so much as lay a filthy hand on her, humph, I'll throw away my dignity and expose every shameful trick you pulled back then. He caught himself as the children were listening and swallowed the rest, but the threat in his eyes was plain. Without giving Yu Qing a chance to explain, he hauled the bewildered Duguyan, who hadn't the faintest idea why Grandpa was so furious, and strode off. As he left, he called out loudly enough for everyone to hear. Yan, you remember this. From now on, except for mandatory group lessons, stay away from your master, especially at night. Absolutely forbidden. Yu Qing watched Dugubo's retreating back, opened his mouth, then let out a helpless sigh. He looked down at Qian Renshui, the only one still by his side, and searched her for some consolation. Shuer, does Master really look like the sort of scoundrel who'd pounce on his little disciple? The girl tilted her angelic face, her golden eyes twinkling with mischief beyond her years. She cocked her head and cooed. Shuer doesn't know, but the madams all say Master's charm is lethal and we should be careful. Great. Even this little disciple enjoys watching the world burn. Had no idea I'd spoiled her for that. Mixed with a laugh and a rueful sigh, he left the disciples' quarters and headed back to the main courtyard he shared with his wives. He'd planned to hurry to the study and check on Tang Hao through his soul clone. The situation there should be nearing its turning point. The moment he stepped through the door, Aru and Duanxin, flanked by a bevy of beauties, blocked his way. Husband, you've been secluded so long. Did you miss us? One purred. Exactly. Out of sight for a whole month. We nearly died of longing. Tonight, husband, you'd better make it up to us properly. Qing met those glowing, predatory looks and instinctively rubbed his lower back, thinking, "Looks like intelligence gathering will have to wait. My poor kidneys are going to suffer again tonight." Thus began 3 days and nights of utterly immersive marital duty. Facing his wife's fierce onslaught, he displayed astonishing stamina. Though the experience was grueling, he survived, just barely, and maintained his dignity as head of the household. 3 days later, when they finally released him, he felt like he was floating, exhausted but oddly enlightened. Supporting himself against the wall, he shuffled to the study, collapsed into a chair, and exhaled. Made it alive. After resting long enough for his breathing to steady, he finally calmed his mind, closed his eyes, and tuned into the feed from his clone tailing Tang Hao hundreds of li away. Images flickered across his mind like a film. The first days were peaceful, even tender. Tang Hao, with his newly delivered and still weak wife Ayun and newborn Tang San, had chosen a remote mountain village to avoid trouble. Ayun needed quiet recovery. Tang Hao became the exemplary husband and father, caring for both wife and son while maintaining vigilance. Tang Hao's clumsy diaper changes, while Ayun leaned against the headboard, smiling at them both, made it difficult for Qing to reconcile this gentle man with the future. Clear sky Douluo who would shake the world. But calm shattered on the 8th day. 2 spirit Douluo appeared near the village. They probed cautiously from a distance with their perception. When their senses swept the hut where Ayun lay, though she tried to suppress it, postpartum weakness prevented her from fully concealing her aura as a 100,000-year spirit beast in human form. Sure enough, a transformation spirit beast. The 2 spirit Douluo exchanged looks of shock and greed, then prudently retreated at top speed to report. Tang Hao, focused on his weakened wife and infant, never noticed the brief, covert probe. The next 2 weeks brought a deceptive lull. With no immediate disturbance and Ayun recovering under his care, Tang Hao's vigilance relaxed. He had no idea a lethal crisis was coalescing with frightening speed. On the 15th day, at dusk, the hamlet's quiet was shattered. Powerful figures arrived like ghosts, and their linked spirit power formed an invisible cage sealing the village. 3 leaders at the front exuded a pressure that stole breath. It was none other than Spirit Hall's newly appointed Judgment Elder, Qianshunji, accompanied by 2 Spirit Hall elders, the Golden Crocodile, titled Douluo, and another unnamed, titled Douluo. Behind them stood several Spirit Douluo and dozens of elite spirit saints, enough force to wipe out a mid-sized sect. Not good. Tang Hao sensed their arrival the instant they appeared. His expression changed drastically. He pulled Ayun and the child behind him, the clear sky hammer flashing into his grip as 8 spirit rings, yellow, yellow, purple, purple, black, 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 burst out. But facing 3 titled Douluo and so many other powerhouses, he knew today would likely end disastrously. Without another word, a desperate flight began. Tang Hao carried the child and shielded Ayun, using his knowledge of the terrain and the clear sky hammer's might to smash through encirclement after encirclement. But Ayun, weakened by childbirth, could not keep up. Her speed fell. The infant Tang San became the heaviest burden. The pursuers clung like shadows, their attacks vicious. Tang Hao fought to protect wife and child, and fresh wounds soon streaked his body. At last, they were driven into a narrow gorge with sheer cliffs on both sides, no way back. Qianshunji's group advanced slowly, sealing every exit. Qianshunji wore ornate robes and regarded the battered Tang Hao and pale Ayun with cool disdain before fixing his gaze on Tang Hao. His voice carried lofty authority. Tang Hao, wielder of the peerless war spirit hammer, scion of the Clear Sky sect. As a direct bloodline, your future is limitless. Why throw your life away for a spirit beast in human form? Out of respect for the Clear Sky sect, hand her over, and you may leave unharmed. Tang Hao, drenched in blood, stared at him without wavering. He gripped the Clear Sky hammer and, shielding Ayun and Tang San behind him, declared in a hoarse, unyielding voice, "Impossible. I, Tang Hao, will never surrender my wife." Stubborn fool. Impatience and killing intent flashed in Qianshunji's eyes. If that is your choice, do not blame this seat for showing no mercy. Before the words finished, the Golden Crocodile Douluo and the other titled Douluo attacked. The Golden Crocodile's spirit fused with his body, transforming him into a humanoid, golden crocodile of overwhelming power. The other titled Douluo spirit seemed shadowy. His figure was ghost-like, his attacks treacherous and poisonous. Tang Hao roared and pushed himself to the limit. The disorder-splitting windhammer method whirled. The clear sky 9 absolutes flowed seamlessly. Offense and defense in perfect balance. Hammer shadows flying. His aura astonishing. Yet the disparity in strength was crushing. He was only a spirit Douluo facing 2 famed titled Douluo, one of them at rank 92. His strikes were scattered by sheer spirit power and defenses. Every counterattack left him exposed, wounds mounting. After barely a dozen exchanges, Tang Hao was spent, lacerated and coughing blood, kneeling on one knee and held upright only by the clear sky hammer. His eyes were full of unwillingness and despair. Qian Sunji slowly raised a hand, stopping the 2 elders from pressing the attack. Looking down at the dying Tang Hao, he offered one last mercy. Tang Hao, this seat gives you one last chance. Hand over the spirit beast in human form, and I will spare your life. Will not. Tang Hao spat each word like blood. Murderous intent flared in Qian Sunji's eyes as golden spirit power gathered in his palm. At that moment, a Yun, who had stood silently behind Tang Hao, stepped forward. She gazed at Tang Hao and at the sleeping Tang San in his arms. Resolve, reluctance, and boundless love crossed her face. Though weak, she lifted her eyes to Qian Sunji and said clearly, I will go with you, but you must swear to release him and my child. Yun, no! Tang Hao's eyes flew open. He struggled to rise, but the movement tore at his wounds and he vomited blood. Yun looked back and gave him a heartbreakingly tender smile. Brother Hao, you've done enough for me. From now on, look after little San. Live well. Qian Sunji regarded her in surprise. He had not expected the spirit beast in human form to make such a choice. After a brief pause, he nodded. Very well. By the angel god I swear, if you come willingly, I shall let Tang Hao and the child go. Yun nodded, cast one last lingering glance at her husband and son, then slowly closed her eyes. In the next instant, an indescribable tide of life qi erupted from her frail body like a tsunami. A blinding red pillar shot skyward, dyeing the entire gorge blood red, and behind her appeared the colossal phantom of a silver tree, sacrifice, the ultimate sacrifice of a 100,000-year spirit beast. No, Tang Hao's roar was heartrending but powerless. Vast life energy and spirit ring origin surged into him like rivers returning to the sea. His shattered body healed at a visible speed. His drained spirit power was instantly refilled, soared, broke through the bottleneck, and a brilliant red spirit ring condensed beneath him, his 9th spirit ring. Mighty force flooded his limbs, all wounds vanished, and his spirit power leapt to rank 92. Moreover, the spirit bone left by Yun, glowing blue gold, flew unbidden into Tang Hao's hand. Eyes bloodshot, Tang Hao howled in utter grief. The new power fused with sorrow into a rage that would annihilate everything. 9 rings, 2 yellow, 2 purple, 4 black, 1 red, blazed around him as he charged the ashen Qian Sunji trio like a mad god. What followed was a one-sided, devastating slaughter. Yu Qing watched up to this point and slowly opened his eyes, his expression complex. The wheel of history, it seemed, still rolled along its set track. Yun's sacrifice, Tang Hao becomes a titled Douluo. Next, Qian Sunji will flee grievously wounded back to Spirit Hall, and then Yu Qing's eyes grew profound. Bibidong's opportunity will arrive. 200, the butterfly effect and the tragedy of the Pope. Tang Hao, driven to the brink by grief and rage at his beloved wife's sacrifice, erupted with a power unlike anything he'd ever shown. He unleashed the Clear Sky sect's supreme profound truth, the Great Sumeru Hammer, and, in a near-suicidal crescendo, detonated his cultivation and spirit ring energy by exploding all 9 rings at once. The result was a world-shattering strike. The blood-red silhouette of the Clear Sky Hammer threatened to sunder the heavens, smashing through the joint defense of Qian Sunji, the gold Douluo, and the mysterious titled Douluo. A violent shockwave swept the canyon. Mountains crumbled and the earth split. Had it not been for the level 92 gold Douluo throwing himself over Qian Sunji at the last instant, taking the brunt of the blow and sustaining grievous injuries himself, Qian Sunji would have been pulverized by that single enraged strike. Even so, the aftermath was catastrophic. The gold Douluo lay near death. Qian Sunji was gravely wounded and unconscious, and the other titled Douluo had been thrown into the ground, his fate uncertain. Tang Hao, having expended everything in that devastating attack, sagged as his fury ebbed and a sliver of reason returned. Supporting his battered body, he scooped up his sleeping infant son, Tang San, swaddled in cloth, and stared long and hard at the spot where Ayun had dissipated. Sorrow and a cold resolve filled his eyes. Then he became a streak of light and fled into the vast mountain forest without looking back. According to the original sequence Qing remembered, the spirit hall would have immediately carried the badly injured Qianshunji back to the hall. Only then would Bibi Dong seize the opportunity to carry out the secret chamber devouring. But the aftermath Qing watched through the soul clone had already veered wildly off course. 15 minutes after Tang Hao disappeared, a shadow glided into the debris-choked canyon. The figure was wrapped in a voluminous black robe, her form still hinted at beneath the cloth, and she moved with a grace that sent a tangible chill through the air. Around her condensed a palpable, icy killing intent. Wherever she passed, even the wind seemed to freeze. She walked straight to the prone, dying Qianshunji, and halted. Then a blood-red domain burst outward from her, centered on her presence. Within it, the air went numb and frost spread across the ground, the unmistakable slaughter god domain. Qing's chest tightened. Apart from Tang Hao, only one person possessed the slaughter god domain and would appear here, Bibi Dong. The black-robed figure lifted her hood. Under the cold moonlight, her face was both exquisite and terrible, currently etched with frost and bone-deep hatred. It was the Pope of the Spirit Hall, Bibi Dong. She looked down at Qianshunji as if surveying a crushed insect, her expression a mix of vindictive pleasure, cold mockery, and something more complicated. The killing intent was so overwhelming that Qianshunji stirred from his coma, eyes clouded but widening in disbelief and terror. Dong, Donger. His voice was hoarse, weak. Why are you here? Bibi Dong's lips curved into a cruel, icy smile. Her voice was colder than 1,000 winters. Teacher, you look pitiful now, but I must thank Tang Hao. If he hadn't beaten you into this state, how could I have so easily taken such a great bargain? What are you going to do? Qianshunji tried to scramble back, but could barely move. He forced his voice to authority. I am your teacher. Bibi Dong, do you intend to murder your own teacher? She laughed as if he had told the silliest joke in the world. Hatred flashed in her eyes. Teacher? Yes, you were my teacher. But do you remember how you taught me? She bent close. Each word was a blade cutting into his worst memories. You separated me from Yu Shaogang. Perhaps you called it for the reputation of the Spirit Hall, to sever my mortal attachments. But you should never, under any circumstances, have used that filthy, disgusting method to force yourself on me and ruin my life. The last words spat from her like venom. Years of humiliation, rage, and hatred that she had swallowed erupted all at once. Do you know? From that day on, I thought about killing you every single moment, making you suffer, taking the most painful revenge. Today, I finally have the chance. Qianshunji paled. His soul flying away and spirit scattering had already begun. He stammered his last defense. Bibi Dong, have you forgotten who raised and nurtured you? Who gave you your status and power? Without my upbringing, would you be what you are? You can't be ungrateful. Your grace? She echoed coldly, almost amused. Then, eerily calm, oh, I haven't forgotten. Don't worry. The kindness that you showed me I will repay twofold through your daughter Shuer. I will nurture her carefully and make her my most perfect tool. A chill smile touched her lips. So, for the sake of my great cause, becoming a god and escaping my past, teacher, please go in peace. Her words left no room for reply. 8 grotesque spider-like spears erupted from her back, her second spirit, the soul-eating spider emperor. They slashed like death scythes, piercing into Qianshunji's vital organs. The spider emperor's devouring power surged, greedily draining the last of his life, origin, and spirit power. No! Qianshunji screamed, body convulsing, but gravely wounded and already on the edge of death, he was powerless. Within 10 breaths, the light left his eyes. His body, emptied and slack, collapsed to the ground. The Pope of the Spirit Hall, Qianshunji, was dead, slain not in some secret chamber, but in the open wilds by the hand of his most prized disciple. The scene ended abruptly as the Soul Clone's transmission cut off. Qing opened his eyes slowly, forehead creased. His fingers tapped a steady rhythm against the desk. Bibi Dong had acted ahead of the original timeline. and in the wilderness, taking advantage of Qian Sunji's injuries to assassinate him outright. This was far beyond what Yu Qing had expected. Had his very presence on the continent accelerated events, making Bibi Dong feel greater pressure, or offering her an earlier path to godhood? Or had the Rakshasa god's bewitchment grown stronger and earlier than in the original tale? He understood then, as a butterfly from another world, his slightest flap had begun a cascade of changes. Qian Shunji's premature death would provoke violent upheaval within the spirit hall and hasten a continent-wide reshuffling of power. He needed to act fast. Urgency flared in Yu Qing's chest. With more and more variables arising, only absolute strength could meet every possible crisis. He sank his consciousness into his sea of consciousness, connected to the system space, and began to inventory the family assets he'd stockpiled over the years. It was time to turn resources into real combat power. His mind swept across the seemingly endless storage of the system space. Various rare resources glowed in different hues as they appeared in his vision. Like a commander preparing for war, he cataloged his arsenal. Soul power crystals, purple quality, suitable for those below Spirit King, 48. Plenty in number, but useless for his main forces, his wives, who were already spirit emperors, spirit saints, and spirit Douluos, better reserved for promising young disciples or his two little apprentices. Black quality, suitable for Spirit King to Spirit Douluo, 13. True strategic reserves. Each contains majestic spirit power, enough to raise a spirit saint by 1-2 levels, or a spirit Douluo by around 1 level. Red quality, suitable for titled Douluo, 6. Priceless treasures with major effects even at the titled Douluo level. Ideal for Aru, Ling Yuan, and Dugubo. Spirit souls, intelligent partners granting spirit abilities and aiding in battle. 10,000-year spirit soul, 11. Various types and full attribute coverage perfectly matched to his wife's spirits to greatly boost combat capability. 100,000-year spirit soul, 4. Once contracted, they grant top-tier spirit skills and form super fighters. Reserved for core members like Shui Wei, Shui Wuxiang, Duan Xin, or the promising Qian Renshui. Spirit rings, 10,000-year spirit ring, 39. Ages range from 10,000 to 90,000 years, useful for filling out spirit rings for his wives. 100,000-year spirit ring, 11. Core guarantees for cultivating top-tier powerhouses. Distribution must be careful for maximum effect. Spirit bones below 50,000 years, 21. Good for rewarding meritorious sect members or hall masters to boost overall sect strength. Spirit bones above 50,000 years, 16. Extremely high quality, ideal for strengthening his wife's physiques and compensating weaknesses. 100,000-year spirit bone, 4. Strategic level resources, each containing earth-shaking power, key to forging peak combat strength. Special items, Soul Ring Age Card, 20,000 years, 7. Soul Ring Age Card, 50,000 years, 3. Ring Ascension Pill, 28. Each pill increases a spirit ring's age by 500 years and can be taken repeatedly, treasures for long-term growth and foundation building. They could be distributed in batches to his wives and core disciples for sustained benefit. Yu Qing exhaled, a long, steadying breath. Seeing the depth of his reserves restored his confidence. These resources were more than enough to forge a formidable team of top-tier powerhouses in a short time. Next, he thought, eyes glittering, time to devise a detailed strength soaring plan for my charming wives. He began to outline strategies at once, each step aimed at turning these stockpiles into unstoppable combat power.